is the weakest out of the entire market. We did see that kind of midday dip before a bit of a recovery into the close. So we'll keep an eye on, as you said, some of these semiconductors and chips in general. Tech on the other side, I mean, if you jump over to the Mag 7, still not a good look here. Back to 230 for Apple, all in one shot, it seems like this morning. Microsoft looking a little bit better, 445, 444 coming into play. So right across the board, I mean, as you and I were saying just before we came on here, this move has been amazing. You know, six and a half months into the year, up, 20+%. That's a decent year, let alone 6 months. So a little bit profit taking.
Yeah, and Brendo, you see the Russell yesterday? We're almost up 3% at the high. So that rotation that Michael Nas talked about last week, Raider Trader talked about the guys, that, we're seeing it right now. Want to mention this, I'm sure Neil will get to it as well. Intel benefiting heavily this morning from the chip talk and the Taiwan talk, up 2 3/4, very strong volume in the pre-market. Brendo, over 3 million shares already traded.
Gitlab, on the other hand, coming through as well on a huge move, up 15%. Some possible deal making, GTLB, possible deal making coming through for Gitlab, back to about 13.2%. So lots of individual storylines. Shout out to Sean. He's doing his civic duty today, sitting in a chair somewhere in a courtroom, waiting and waiting.
It's a lot of waiting.
And waiting to possibly get on a jury. So, hey, Sean.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I know Sean's bored because he messaged me about like fantasy football this morning, probably trying to take his mind off the markets and how much it's moving here today because wow. For everyone if you missed out that opening crawl, markets be falling. There's that's what's happening this morning. Pretty much everything tech chip related is going to be to the downside with this geopolitical concerns, except for Intel. Go Intel. Hey, if you're worried about the chips being made, all of them essentially in Taiwan and those concerns, and hey, that's going to bode well in theory for their long-term plans. They're up 3% at monster levels. I was already thinking short on something like Tesla after the plan yesterday was, kind of deflated and then never really got that fade play. But today you're just going to have to pick your poison. Obviously, you're going to get good volume in the chip name. So if you like AMD, you trade AMD. If you like NVIDIA, you trade NVIDIA. Intel might be its own beast today because it's one of the only ones that's strong. Maybe you like ARM today to play a bit of a short. I think you just want to stay in the pocket. Apple is going to be a bit of a concern. I think anything China related that might have room to give back, you're going to be concerned about. But the thing that happens on a day like this is you've gapped through key levels. So what would have been like a breakdown at this price or a key resistance at this price, now you might have to be patient. Either look for it to glide back up on relief if you want to participate in the short, or find something off of the open that works. And just for everyone out there, don't panic. The market's down a little bit, but the S&P hasn't been down 2% in a day in a very, very long time. And at least you don't own Cassava Sciences. It could always be worse.
Yeah, definitely. It can always,
at least maybe you don't.
It can always be worse, but no, Cassava Sciences is interesting ticker there. Definitely a repeat offender. Have some battles with it in the past, but yeah, no, pretty crazy day yesterday. It's a very sector specific sell-off. If you looked at any other sector, for the most part, everything was green. I was looking at the market map at the end of the day, and I was like, I'm so focused on tech. I'm trying to catch bounces on tech, but I'm not even looking at other places where there's potential moves happening. IWM is going, small to mid caps are moving. We talked about Caterpillar, we talked about Home Depot, I was looking at Starbucks as well. Some of the banks, XLF ran yesterday as well. So there's like lots of opportunities going both ways. The selling came in on the chips, and we barely even bounced on a lot of the Mag 7, right? I was looking for the reversion, and that reversion was definitely mean yesterday, and it never really came. Dead cat bounces across the board for the most part, but there was one ticker that actually did a full-on reversion, Neil.
Tesla did.
Tesla.
Yeah, Tesla.
And I was like, damn, like, okay, all right, well, it's Tesla getting charged up while everything else kind of, losing its umph. But we'll see. Let's see what today has in store. I'm going to stay open-minded for any outcome, what I'm trying to get better at as well. But Intel definitely on watch with it testing, as you pointed out, a little bit of weekly resistance.
Yeah, huge resistance on Intel right now. And the only for anyone that doesn't know, the dig at Sava, look, if the CEO leaves the company, I can make a crack about it. So they had obviously concerns, and we'll get to the story, but everyone remembers fraud and all that stuff, down to $8.80. Now the CEO stepping down, and it bounced off of about the same level as we speak. So 30% to the downside. It wasn't a random, I wasn't saying Cassava Sciences randomly. I have nothing against them. It's just, hey, they're down 30 points today. This is the day they've done a 1.4 million shares pre-market. So it's obviously going to do some relative volume. You're going to have to pay attention to it on a day like today. There could be some bounces, but I think you got to be patient. The trend is your friend. And a day like today, that's very, very important to remember.
Trend is my friend.
All right, Cassava Sciences, a lot of people mentioning this one down 31, what is it? Yeah, 31.25% right now. A little bit of a bounce just came through. We tried to stop at 10. That didn't last too long, but basically the entire leadership being ousted after this absolute debacle. If you missed it, what was it, last week or the week before? There were these reports of more fraud coming through on the back of these results for their Alzheimer's treatment. So Cassava Sciences down big time here on an executive change.
Yeah, and Neil was mentioning this to me in the pre-market right before we came on the air, Brendo. If I can show the chart, guys, this was the drop. This was what Brendo was alluding to on June 28th. We dropped aggressively from around 20 bucks. We bottomed there at around 8 3/4. We got to that exact same bottom. We broke it by a little bit, 8.5. Neil was pointing this out to me, but you can see it's recovering a little bit here above 9. So I want to see how the guys are going to trade this. But yeah, not a good look for Cassava Sciences.
It feels like last week, but really it was like 3 weeks ago. Yeah. So time goes by too quick. I was just double checking. Yeah, I see 27.3% short still on this one, guys.
Where are you running?
Intel is gone. The best thing. I never want to spend 7 hours in a hospital bed again. But I bought 2 things while I had my IV in, and they were Intel and Caterpillar. And while we were looking at Cassava Sciences, this was on Friday, by the way, which ended up being really good. But while we were staring at Cassava Sciences for a hot minute, Intel just broke out. Its pre-market volume is out of control. We preach patience all the time. It's hard to buy a top when a stock has already done pretty much the biggest range day that it's had in a while. I mean, a very long time. It's essentially gone as much as any move to the upside in at least 3 or 4 months, and it's had some down moves this big. So you are in the midst of a breakout. Got to look for an available dip to buy in here. This is into a very, very weak market. So clearly they like this. You're not going to find any other chip name. Well, I shouldn't say that. The only other chip name that was not that's bucking the trend is Global Foundries for kind of the same reason. But if you're interested in trading Global Foundries, it's done 26,000 shares in volume. Intel has done 3.1 million and is a cheaper stock. So that's why the eyes will be on Intel. I know this looks really good. This is strong for some of the same reasons as Intel is into a weak market. You might say to yourself, why not just be long a 56 break on Global Foundries? I couldn't argue with how it looks on the chart, but I'd rather go into Intel, which is going to let you have multiple cracks at it today. But it's just gone parabolic. There's not even a red candle in sight. Let's let it calm down a bit, but that 35.50 was a key breakout spot.
Yeah, I think something to note on, we were mentioning Sava earlier here, multi-year lows happening on Sava off of this dump here. 806 I have as this low right here just a couple of weeks ago, right there on the first, it was at the last week of June right there. And then when we go down to 15-minute, you can see, or let's go down even lower, the 3-minute. Look at the relative volume that this thing is doing right now. Over 100x, 150x relative volume, and that relative volume is increasing as well as we push down towards that multi-year low just over that $8 mark there on Cassava Sciences. Should be interesting. Intel as well. I like that. Look at that thing go. Yeah, I saw some people in the chat kind of responding. I was just like, oh, where are you running? Why are you running? And it's a bit of a technical breakout, right? Again, as Neil pointed out, right here over the past couple of days, look at that double top, 35 halves. very, very strong. Let's get these lines out of the way there. Clean it up a little bit on the hourly. You can see how clean that double top was, and we're already breaking that in the pre-market with some significant relative volume as well, over 3 at times, over 5 as well earlier on. But look at that volume coming in, bit of an expanding volume going into that breakout as well. So Intel is definitely on my watch today.
Just noting here on the other side of the spectrum here, LGVN continuing on the Alzheimer's treatment track here, $5 the high there. Fast track designation for a treatment for mild Alzheimer's disease from the FDA coming in early this morning. So LGVN, another one with monster short float. So we'll keep an eye on that. So a couple things to touch on outside of the small caps today. We wanted to mention Tesla, as we were talking early on this morning. Elon coming out yesterday saying that SpaceX, I mean, this doesn't really affect Tesla stock at the current time anyways, but 2.2% downside this morning. Elon coming out saying he's moving SpaceX to Texas. I was wondering when X was going to follow suit with that, because it seems like that's the direction all of these are heading right now.
He seems like he's really leaving the state of California, looking to set up shop in Texas. We'll have to see how that all pans out. On a separate note, Tesla specific, it looks like Tesla's extending Model 3 delivery times in China. Not really a big headline here. It's up now 3 to 5 weeks as opposed to the previous delay of 2 to 4 weeks. Kind of good if you're looking at it from a demand perspective. We saw some China numbers come out from Tesla a little while ago, and it was better than expected. So a good look here, the fact that they don't have as much inventory sitting on the sidelines. Brendan.
Yeah, always good when you're selling. 152 here. I was just hearing J&J moving around a little bit. Looks like 152 rejected there. I'm not seeing comments yet, but I'll double check on the earnings call for Johnson & Johnson here in a second. But there are a few earnings names this morning. J&J, one of them.
Earnings.
Yeah, look, aftermarket, you're going to get some airlines. I think that should be spicy. Obviously, tomorrow we're going to get Netflix. You didn't want to sleep on. It was a strong day for the banks. Once again, Morgan did pretty well, I'd like to say. J&J is feeling like a nothing burger. If you get wrapped up in these moves, pre-market, even aftermarket as well, I think it's just a lot of problems for you. I never want to trade off of these crazy little wicks unless there's something about it on the stock that you love. Like we talked about PanW when it was a 200-period moving average and it dipped and it gave you a support level. So I think J&J might be a nothing burger. There's way too much moving here. And on top of that, continuation from the banks. But it does look pretty decent as to the bounce when the earnings release happened. It bounced right off the 50-period moving average and then is now recovering to the top end of the range. So it looks pretty strong. Like if it breaks 152, you get to 155 for a continuation play. But 100,000 in volume is no good. I mean, BAC was good for everybody yesterday because it was doing volume and there was more oomph to it right off the open, and then it sort of gave you this breakout. So I would lean towards the day 2 play for earnings more than I would trade that J&J. All the chips moving, as you guys just mentioned, Tesla going to be in play, Apple. It's hard. NVIDIA, oh my goodness. It's hard to work J&J into it. Like BAC, you saw this daily chart in here on BAC. If it does a dip and tries to fill in that gap, I want to look for some continuation. And when everyone can talk about rotation, but the way I see it, if people are rotating from one thing to another, they're going into small caps, you see the trend on IWM. Well, I mean, we can see the trend in the financials as well. And we just had that recent breakout on earnings on strength here. If you come back into like a previous key level, like a 43.5, look for a dip and rip. If it never even does that and it just breaks out, just join the trend on a continuation play here. Wouldn't want to step into something new with J&J.
Yeah, no, J&J kind of it created a base. I'm looking at here at the weekly chart. Pretty solid bid. It would seem every time it kind of got into that 144, kept on popping up, and now on earnings we're attempting to push a little bit higher here, still within the range, but yeah, not really doing too much in the pre-market right there. You can see the earnings reaction kind of muted, bit of a slight shake and bake in and around that 150 mark, but we're trading right within that range on J&J. But in terms of earnings day 1 tickers, I also have ASML, we know that again, chips are a little interesting here. ASML fading off of earnings. They're definitely doing some significant relative volume, breaking below that 1 thou level here in the pre-market. So let's go take a look at a higher time frame. You can see that we've been in a bit of an uptrend, very strong uptrend since the beginning of the year, maybe even a little bit before that as well. But off of the earnings report today, we are breaking multi-week and maybe even prior month lows. Yeah, prior month lows below the 1 thou. So it should be interesting. We know how some of these tickers have been sold off as well. And I also got another bank with the report today, USB. Should be interesting. Not as, I guess, volatile as some of the other banks. We saw Morgan Stanley was interesting yesterday. Again, what was the other one? Morgan Stanley. We had Schwab. Schwab was interesting. And, of course,
and BAC.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing about ASML. So remember, ASML's primary listing is going to be in Amsterdam. So it will, I have it up in Amsterdam just to make the point. At 11:30, that's when the European markets close. So you will, if you end up trading this in the U.S., like the U.S. version of the stock, at 11:30 volume is going to slow down. It will still continue to trade, but just understand when the European markets close, there is an adjustment in liquidity that's going to happen on this stock. So yes, it is the biggest mover. They had the report, which actually wasn't that bad. It's the concerns of the geopolitical concerns are going to be the problem here for this name. But just keep an eye on that 11:30 because you will, and you'll probably see a pretty big volume spike on the U.S. version of ASML in relation to, at 11:30, in relation to the closing print. So you do want to trade this one with it. It's not about caution, it's just knowing where you're at. So it closes at 11:30, and then the closing print happens in Europe at 11:35 for ASML.
All right, we'll touch on some analyst moves coming up here in a couple of minutes, but I was just noting Palantir down 3% again this morning, coming on the back of what happened yesterday on the downgrade. Yesterday we did recover off the bat. If you zoom out a little bit, remember we had the huge, wait for it, there we go. We had the huge gap down initially this morning, flush down to 27.50, and then it bounces back to 28.50. But here we are again this morning on Palantir, back to 27.50. I haven't double checked, but I don't know. Did you see anything notable on Palantir today?
Not today, Brendo, but there is this technical article here being by Toggle, basically saying when Palantir reaches local highs, it's usually, kind of the springboard for a bit of a decline. Very strong this year, Brendo, up aggressively on the year. We'll have to keep an eye on that. 65% I saw about last time. What do you got?
Yeah, this was yesterday. Still, it was just the, we were talking about Mizuho yesterday. There's a couple other analyst notes. But yeah, back to 27.50 here, guys, for Palantir today.
So Sean loved that 27.50 level, and it dipped right off of it. Today, it's a different day today because there's a lot of other concerns in the market being dragged down. Like, we weren't sitting at NASDAQ down 1.5% into this. But the level I liked was going to be 27. So, going to draw the dirty line there. That's not even exactly a 27. This wick bottom's like 26.90. You guys know the drill when a stock gets to an even level like this. Like, you usually want to give it some wiggle room, but you're breaking 80s, 85s. You got to get out of Dodge. So if we do get a bigger dip down on Palantir, that would be where I'd look to pick some up. Diddling in the middle, like when it's right here, either it's going to immediately hold this level or potentially break it. I'm not going to stand on a dip support like that for Palantir when I know the chips are going to be the primary focus for me. And then Cassava Sciences, I'm expecting to be a little bit crazy at the open. So my eyeballs are going to be there. Like, I have level 2s up for Intel, Cassava Sciences, NVDA, Apple, Tesla. So throwing Palantir in there right off at the open, it was a good level yesterday, 27.50. I would rather wait in there for 27. And every time I look at Palantir, I try to remind myself, I want to get into Snowflake, but it's all about patience because this continues its trend back into the downside. Had yet to break the trend here on, and you can draw this any way you like. I don't like including like the wicks like this. I think you go from like the sell point to the actual resistance, and then you connect there. But this is another one on a very steep downward trend on the daily. They tend to move somewhat adjacent to each other, but just waiting for the day that we actually close above this trend line, not wick the trend line. When I'm using trend lines on a daily chart, I don't care if a stock wicks above. It doesn't really matter. It has to close breaking the trend. and then open the next day, and then all of a sudden you have a trading opportunity. But this is what patience is all about, because the trend is your friend.
Yeah, no, I guess Palantir, I'm looking at the weekly here. Apparently, I haven't been looking at Palantir close enough, because since May of 23, we've just been on the up and up here, and breaking out of this consolidation, continuing that trend up. So I'm just going to the daily here. Nice little, I guess if you want to call this a little bit of a smiley face there, but holding the 20s and continuing even higher. So going down to a 15-minute. Yeah, we've been doing a little bit of R-vol every now and then over the past couple of weeks, but look at this nice little gradual trend, kind of choppy on the intraday, but it seems like higher time frame. Palantir is doing quite nicely here, holding a bit of a range as of right now for the past few days. You can see here every time it gets up into the 28s, 29s, gets sold off. Every time it comes into the 27s, it's been getting bought up. Nice little relative volume there before this little base at 27 began as well. So interesting stuff on Palantir here. Definitely worth a watch.
Ayo, we've got Randy in the building. Good timing there, Randy.
Thank you. I just got mine. Thank you.
Oh, appreciate it. As always, we appreciate Randy. Apparently, I'm supposed to throw to Adara, but Randy, we're getting smoked in the market today. It's geopolitical concerns. Let's see what the upgrade and downgrade board is saying. Upgrade to Randy.
Amazon once again at the top of this list here with a Needham upgrade. United Airlines getting an upgrade here from TD Cowen. They report tonight, so keep an eye on this one after close, expected to report at 4 p.m. We have Adidas getting this upgrade from Telsey Advisory Group, and United Healthcare after their earnings yesterday getting an upgrade from Jefferies Financial. On the downgrade side, with TD Cowen not only upgrading United Airlines but also downgrading American Airlines here. Lower gets price target to $10, 5 below after those announcements yesterday, including the replacement of the interim CEO and also comparable sales decline. This one getting a downgrade here from Barclays, trading down about 15% right now. SolarEdge down about 3%, getting a downgrade from DZ Bank. And last but not least, Spirit releasing preliminary Q2 results and getting a downgrade from TD Cowen, guys.
Go UNH. That's all I got to say. Happy for them. But Amazon's only down 0.8% today.
Yeah.
And the market's down more than that. The ES is down 1. The NASDAQ's down 1.5. This is the first day in, since what day is that? It's the 11th? So since we had this Bezos, selling top at 200, that I haven't been leading bearish on Amazon, because it's relative to the market, not as bad. You pop the daily chart, and it's actually, it's pretty close to key resistance turning into potential support. The 50 periods at 188. You've pulled back and retraced the move back to the breakout point when you're at $190. So that actually puts this in the swing zone. You bounce off 190 today. I would look for support down there. If it loses 190, you still have the 50-period moving average, which seems pretty strong. It is also Amazon Prime, which is happening right now. I ended up not getting that fryer. The wife wasn't exactly for it. So we'll find something else that we can get a deal on, hopefully. Not great for electronics. We're looking to get a new TV, and obviously you want to wait for Thanksgiving for that. I think that's the better sale, or Boxing Day here in Canada. But Amazon, if we break this low, it's already made the retracement from the 200 level. I got to be thinking 190, and then the daily shows you that 50 period at $188. It doesn't hurt that all of the negative attention seems to be on geopolitical concerns and the chips right now. So if I'm looking for a Mag 7 name, this looks okay to catch some bounces. I would say Google doesn't look bad either.
Yeah, I think definitely Amazon getting a little primed off that 200, a little bit of sentiment coming in, right, with the Bezos. Some people are calling it a lid. Some people are calling it just the Bezos sell. I was like, oh, there's a held offer. I don't know what it is. And Buddy sends in a filing, and I'm like, okay, it's definitely don't want to be fighting that counterparty there. And we've been kind of selling off. The question I'm asking Neil is that he was selling a lot of his stuff above 200, right?
Yes.
And he still has a lot more to sell from last I saw. Would he be willing to step down is the question that I'm asking here. And this is starting to look a little interesting right here at that 196, a bit of a support, turn to resistance. We could not get above that over the past since Friday, Monday, Tuesday. So I'm going to be watching that 196. If we can get back up there, does that catch a sell? Because we know what it did in and around that 200. And if he still has more to sell, I'm curious to know whether he's willing to step down.
Well, it's funny you asked that question. Yesterday, like in the morning, my best stock yesterday was Amazon short at that level. I know Sean was shorted as well in that wick. So I think it goes without saying. Like when I'm making my note or I'm going over the ideas that I have, like I'll usually look for the things that are the higher probability to come in. Like what's going to trade at that level, what's really close. Like yesterday, I don't think I need to tell anybody that watched the show yesterday we like 196 on Amazon or want to sell any resistance until it starts to break out. Like that's the thesis. It's just down at $191. So for me, I always ask, okay, well, if I like a trade off of the bid that's 1% away as a potential support level, that's to me the idea for the open. And if we get to 196, I mean, you've got to rally $4 or $5 to get there. So it's not likely to be a 930 trade. Obviously gets there. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be on that trade today. And to miss it would be a mistake. But do we think we're getting $196 on Amazon at 930? My bet would be no. But who knows?
I don't know. It's doing some decent relative volume there. The relative volume has been kind of dropping off. Yeah, you're right. It's been propped up relative to some of the other Mag 7. It's been propped up quite nice. And we can see that the NQ has had over a 300-point flush in the pre-market session here, in the Globex session, in the overnight trading session, whatever you want to call it there. But it kind of started off earlier, I guess not earlier on, earlier in the session there last night, in and around 6, 7, you can see here it start to fade off. And then in the morning we come in and that 20,500 just slams right in. Strong selling, and we're getting a bit of continuation there as well. ES is selling off as well. Yeah, Amazon has held itself relatively well, so I like that. I guess another name that was on the upgrade list was UNH, right? UNH getting a bit of an upgrade on a day 2 earnings. So you can see that earnings day 1 was quite strong, closing near the high of day, and then now we're consolidating right here just above that 550 mark on United Health here. So let's see, with that upgrade as well, earnings day 2, we can get a little bit of that continuation of the bid that we saw all the way from pre-market, can't even pull back in the open session and closes at or near high a day there yesterday. So UNH definitely on watch.
We'll kick things off here, as always, at 9 o'clock with a look at the overall market before we get into individual names. The watch list a little bit delayed this morning. We apologize for that, but you should have it at this point. Let's talk futures here.
57.17, Brino. That's where we closed out yesterday on the ES September contract. Big boy drop there overnight. You can see we lost quite a bit, down about over 60 points right now from the overnight high, 57.17. We've been talking about this 5,700 as that key level of resistance. We breached it, but spent very little time there. Now, as a level of support, keep your eye on the red line there. That is the 50 exponential moving average on this 4-hour chart. It's featured multiple times over here. We're at it right now. So if we break, let's see what we do at this 56.37, where we consolidated back on the 11th and the 10th. To the high side, let's use 5,700 again.
If you haven't done so yet, make sure you jump down to the description in this video. Hit that link to the watch list. If you haven't done so, enter your email address. And then you get it for free, delivered right to your inbox every single day. Semiconductors, top of the list this morning. One of the biggest weights so far on the overall market right now. That's the NASDAQ, obviously, heading back towards day lows right now. ASML beats the forecast, a bit of a problem here for the semiconductor equipment maker. I was just hearing NVDA moving downside here as well. Yeah, 120, 121 coming back into play. Not day lows yet, but all of these looking kind of ugly here. 4% already for NVIDIA.
Yeah, tough over here. We'll keep an eye on that. So with respect to ASML, Brendo, you mentioned that this is the company that works out of the Netherlands, and they've got the dominance on the ultraviolet lithography machines. They are making the low nanometer chips, the 2 and the 3, which are the high end. So here's what happened. They reported net sales of 6.25 billion euros and a profit of 1.58 billion euros. That exceeded their analyst expectations and their own own forecast, but it was a guide here that was really light, as well as the overnight news about chips with a big exposure to China does ASML have. And the Dutch government has shown its inclination in the past to basically accept American pressure and put restrictions on exports to China. So a bit of a tougher look for them.
Yeah, we get that note on TSM a couple days back as well. Just double checking on NVIDIA. We still have a ways to go. For the rest of these, you got to go into the middle of August, end of August, before we start hearing from the AMDs and NVIDIAs of the world.
Some time for earnings for them, but for TSM, we talked Intel. We'll go back to Intel. Haven't talked NVIDIA. I'll go over NVIDIA in just a second. But if you look at TSM, where I guess a lot of the focus from a technical standpoint can be, like, everyone's concerned about Taiwan exposure, too many chips getting made by TSM because they essentially are a monopoly. I mean, it's an oligopoly, but when you're making 2/3 of all the chips in the world, like, you control everything. So if you have a trend, it's at the bottom of the trend line, which is tricky because if it's not really breaking down under here, I don't see an obvious trade for TSM per se. So the bottom of this trend line would be like 172.80, and I'm not starting it from like all the way back here. Like when you broke out, you then had key support at 125, and then you dipped, and those April bottoms were 125. So that double bottomed, and then from that point, it's held that trend. And a retest seems like it's coming in there. We already talked Intel, super strong name, relatively speaking. But NVIDIA, which our charts aren't going to be split adjusted, the last time NVIDIA was down here and broke the 120, you can see. If it holds 120, great. When it breaks 120, you've got two wicks, this one into 119, this one into 117. So NVIDIA is in a spot where the buyers have stepped in before, but it hasn't been clean. And it hasn't been gigantic. The first time down here it was a subtle bounce, and then the next day it kind of gapped over. And the next time it went off the actual 119 level, that got you back to 124. So I will have my eyes out for a failed break of the 120 that can hold one of those two levels. But that's pretty much it. I don't love this gap on NVIDIA. Like, if we were close to 125, yeah, flat bottom break, let's get short up here 125. Instead, I have to look for something tight to pre-market highs if I want to play a short trade. That's 122.5. Or as the market opens up, start respecting something like VWAP, or just where the resistance set up. Like, it's a difference between looking for shorts and any kind of curl, or it actually just getting to $125 and then fading it there. So everything is pretty much setting up that way. AMD would be the same thing at 175. I like the trend down on AMD today. But I can either look at this 172 level at the open, VWAP, if we have to play the patience game, or it's just going to have to break out and take me all the way back into 175. That requires a lot of patience and discipline. And Intel just broke 36.
Yeah, chips definitely weak. Yeah, I'm watching Intel as well. It's pulling up into that 36 area. Intel kind of being one of the only tickers that is strong. We talk about ASML. As well, they have earnings day one. Chips are definitely weak. But yeah, and just to take a look at some of the chip leaders here, you can see that NVIDIA, a bit of a pullback back into that 121. We can look at AVGO as well, a little bit of a pullback there in the pre-market as well. AMD was on my radar this morning, pulling back, breaking a little bit of a trend that we've been holding over the past few weeks or so as well here. And yeah, no, Intel looking a little bit distinctly different, breaking out technically as well, 35 halves into 36s. But Neil, you know something? Chips are definitely weak. So you know what I got on watch, and we talked about this a little earlier, SOX S.
Oh, SOX S.
Right? Semiconductor, bear ETF. Look at the relative volume that this thing is doing in the pre-market here, over 5 times a relative volume. Again, it is a 3 times leveraged bear ETF. Now the partner of this is SOX L, which is also doing some significant relative volume as well. So I think I'm definitely going to be watching some of these instead of maybe taking a trader watching NVIDIA or like an individual name if I'm trying to play the sector move, which is something I realized yesterday as well. A lot of things were moving in groups, in sectors, like the whole sector was moving. So like, why would I kind of spend mental capital trying to figure out whether one specific ticker may or may not move one way when if the whole sector is very directional, I'm going to take an ETF for the trade as the market is definitely in play. I'll be watching SOXL, SOXS. And of course, we cannot forget SMH.
Yeah, I was going to say
right?
SMH is the one.
Of course.
Yeah, SMH is definitely, that's usually the one I'll look at. We actually had SMH on the watch list for the chart. But I love that look, because like the trend, you can play the ETF. I like the individual support and resistance levels, which typically will lead me to individual stocks because you know the levels trading them every single day. But you can't go wrong. That's the best thing about the market, OB, is that there's always going to be somewhere that you can express the trade the way that you like it.
Yes, I agree with that.
Let's get to, oh my goodness, Intel's not the only thing up today. Gitlab too.
Yeah, nice move here. 13%, still holding on to a better part of 13%, 12.8 right now. Back to $7 though. It was Reuters that reported this initially, that the company may be exploring a sale. Potential suitors, including Datadog, possibly, for GTLB. No other real significant details on that, but big move here. I mean, this thing was down to, sorry, I said $7. I meant $57 earlier. Was holding $50 at the end of the day yesterday.
Yeah, it's interesting here. They're actually working with investment banks to facilitate the sale. This is kind of probably how it got leaked. It looks here like Needham really likes this acquisition target, basically saying it's going to preserve GitLab's cloud neutrality as well as place GitLab under financially stronger position, as well as lowering regulatory hurdles compared to other potential acquirers. So they like this look here, and we'll have to see how GLTB does, but good look for them today.
Yeah, not a heck of a lot of volume behind this move so far, but I mean, any more comments could bring that in.
Yeah, maybe keep your ear to the ground here for some kind of confirmation or specific interest or actual detailed talks, because 350,000 in volume is what Intel is doing every few minutes. Sometimes when you get deal speculation, you get a bottom on a stock, or like it just puts in some kind of a bid respective to that. So I think you look out for that today. You don't anticipate where it's going to be. Obviously, the 200 period sits at like $55.5, $54, which was previous resistance. S2 buying it up at 60. If you don't know what the deal could be, like imagine a situation where the consideration for any company started when it was in the 40s. It could have been like $45. Well, at 60, you're already looking at a 30% premium at that point. Even if it was down here at 50, a 30% premium on that would put you at like 65. A 20% premium puts you at that 60 level. So you just can't always assume when a stock is already run into some kind of deal news that you can just buy it and it's going to go. I would not treat GitLab that way today. I think you patiently look for a level that might form a bid on a dip. I can tell you from looking at the level 2, there is not a ton of liquidity in this stock in GitLab. So this is what it looks like on the level 2 for GitLab. That doesn't inspire a lot of confidence at this moment. You got to wait for this to open.
Yeah, I definitely see that. It's like, okay, so we are moving up on that catalyst, on the rumor there. But again, we're well within this range that we've been having over the past few years here on GitLab. Now this is a weekly chart here, a little bit of a base down here. Whenever we get down to the 40s to the 30s, and then bit of a resistance here a couple of times whenever we have gotten up past the 70s there on GitLab. So it should be interesting here. Let's see if the move has a bit of continuation. It's definitely doing a little bit of relative volume in the pre-market, but definitely not necessarily one of my top tickers on the day, but maybe potentially worth a watch as it is kind of pushing past some of these recent levels of resistance here in the mid-50s here. But maybe a little bit of a pullback. Maybe this move is a little bit overextended, but I think if you're looking for opportunities, GitLab may potentially have some. Doing over 150 RVol at certain times here. I have some bars going over 200 relative volume. So it's definitely getting some interest, a lot more than usual in the pre-market session here. Let's see if some of that sentiment carries over into the trading session as well.
Just a heads up, Apple with a bit of a downtick there, back to 230. There was a note from that Chinese analyst that covers a lot of the tech companies just being posted on Twitter about 2027. So the iPhone 17, the company planning to not use the same material for its motherboard. So not a significant one, but just a heads up on Apple, if anyone's watching that, still downside. Tesla, on the other hand, back to the upside right now, still 2% under pressure here after that huge flush out of the gate yesterday. That basically the entire thing plus more got recovered throughout the entire day. So we'll see if the same thing happens here today.
Yeah, it's been good lately for Tesla. So as I mentioned earlier, the wait times for the Model 3 in China a little bit delayed now. You're going to have to wait around 3 to 5 weeks, up from 2 to 4, as demand for that vehicle picks up there. Also separately, the Model 3 and the Model Y, which is produced at the Shanghai facility, was set to be subject to import tariffs into the EU. That now is up in question as Elon negotiates with them over there in Europe. So hopefully they can figure something out. But yeah, those were in jeopardy.
DigiTimes just reporting on TSM as well, seeing 3 nanometer chip output exceeding 100,000 wafers monthly. So that will climb to 125,000 wafers in the second half of this year. That's up from 100,000. So a little bit of a boost there for TSM.
Yeah, 3 nanometer chips. Something that Intel can't do, unfortunately for them. It's just true. I'm not. Look, man, they're going to get there. They're having a great day today. I kid. I own Intel stock. Tesla, it was pointed out in the chat. I actually drew this because it was pointed out in the chat. The last couple of pre-market sessions, you've had like the same sort of channel, like a 255, 256. It's more like 256 and a half. Bottom, a little bit higher into this 258, which was a key level. So first, you're breaking out from there, or you're failing from there, and you can kind of see the action off this channel. We failed it yesterday. We closed inside of that channel. I think you understand what I'm going to be getting at. Tesla's a bit in the middle here. I had only one long that worked. It was the 246 off of this support. So unless you're getting down there again, if we pop up, enter that channel, and don't come out of it on top, look short. Right, so that's 56 to 58. If we enter this and don't come out the top, then I want to look short on Tesla. If we don't enter it at all, it's probably a trade down into 246, where much like the chip names, you just got to be patient. Today feels like the kind of day where we're down so much and so heavy overnight and all this doom and gloom that you could get a pop off the open that rips faces off of everyone and just wants to sit short thinking we're going to fall all day long today. And then you have to be really patient getting in on the other side of that trade if you're looking for a short. So you could get blown out easily. I think in that situation, you might trap some longs. That's why I'm looking at this zone here in Tesla. And every time I talk about Tesla in the pre-market, you know I'm going to next mention Rivian because we like trading Rivian as well. Difference between Tesla and Rivian, I think you can probably see here, Rivian a little bit closer to that dip support at 17. Like it's not really diddling in the middle the same way. Rivian loses 17 bucks. There's only one thing I'm interested in doing. If it bounces off 17, look for a trend join. Like yesterday was a trend join. I was shorted early off the 18 level, and then once it broke out, we looked to join the trend in the afternoon. I think you play it the same way. If it so happens to bounce off 17, then look to join the trend back into the upside. But the first look would it be if it fails that $17 level here on Rivian.
Yeah, Tesla with the crazy reversion yesterday, and I was like, yeah, we mentioned this earlier. There's only one of a very few tickers in the top constituents when it comes to ES and the NQ there, Tesla being the name, that actually had a full-on reversion of the morning flush, the morning price action right here. This is an hourly chart. You can see nice little V shape right there. But bigger picture, we sold off aggressively off of this 271 just last week. I think this was on Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. A little bit of an intraday news. Some of that robo-taxi kind of delays coming in as well. We sold off aggressively, and we're kind of holding lower highs, even though we did reclaim that 260 mark. We did a full-on reversion yesterday. So the question becomes, I'm asking if the bid is real, and it was definitely there yesterday in these mid to high 240s. It's coming right back in on this little bit of a gap down here today. So let's see if Tesla can hold some of prior days levels here, or are we just going to kind of continue this thing that we've been doing over the past couple of days where a little bit of a pop and then flush, maybe flush and pop, trending lower with lower highs day after day, it would seem, on Tesla here. So let's see what's going to happen.
All right, crypto back downside here this morning. We had that huge move late in the day yesterday on the, this is just Mara, but we had that huge move late in the day yesterday on the Ethereum note. that we could be mere days away from Ethereum ETFs coming to an equity market near you. So back downside here for BTC, all the equities related looking the same.
Yeah, below 65,000 right now, but it did reclaim that level overnight, so we'll have to see how they do. So some of the factors driving the bullish momentum is the absorption of the Mt. Gox sell-off. We know that they were selling some of that to recoup some of their holders there. There's also the Trump pro-crypto stance, obviously with the RNC in full effect right now. We're getting a lot of talk coming out from politicians there. And there's the sustained institutional interest. There was about $61 million yesterday that flowed in to BlackRock's ETF, IBIT. So institutions continue to like this. And oh, that's right. The German government's selling right now of seized crypto assets has really slowed down. They're still holding quite a bit though, Brendo.
It was 423 million was the total number the inflow on July 16th, which is crazy, right across the board. So the 8th consecutive day of increases as far as that is concerned on that ETF possibility, it would appear anyways. But as you said, still a little bit of selling pressure, I think, behind most of these.
Yeah, and we'll definitely keep an eye on the spot BTC and ETHE prices. Mara is the one that I trade. I like it's the way it moves. You got the short flow going for it, so you're going to get some outsized moves in Mara, and you're well past any of the resistance ever since it held 19 and broke out 23. But just look at 24 ends up holding, and then 25 is the top after 24 holds a dip. Then yesterday, it breaks out 25. I'll zoom in so you can see better. Mara breaks out 25, dips into 25, and then rips to 27. So it's pretty simple. If we're falling back down, 25 bounces go long off 25, 24 bounces go long off 24, 23 bounces go long off 23. I'm not trading anything as an even dollar. And if it doesn't show me a setup like this where it holds a level and breaks away, then don't trade it. But this is a 15-minute chart. So when it bounced off 24 here, it actually holds down, tries to wick underneath, and the 15-minute chart holds down there at 24 and then goes. Yesterday, it consolidated at above 24 or 25 for a good 30 to 40 minutes and then rallied. So if it does something like that at the even dollar level, just take a shot at it, because then you can risk like 10 cents, maybe 15 pennies, and the moves have been $1 pretty much every single time on Mara. That's what you wait for. And if you take trades like that, you can lose 3 times out of 4 and be profitable. But you've got to be patient to make a trade like that. So that's what I'll look for on Mara. I know it might pull back in with everything else, but I look at those previous resistance zones as support that already happened once yesterday. Let's see if it can happen again today.
Yeah, I like to look here on Bitcoin as well. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were watching it down in the mid 50s, and then over the past few days, we've got that nice little push right back up into the range where we've been making lower highs and lower lows after testing all-time highs at 73 or just shy of 74 there. Bit of a top here at that 71.80. But yeah, that's strength coming right back in past that 60 mark. Very, very exciting stuff here as Bitcoin does some moves to the upside. So yeah, what's on watch? I got IBIT as well. Again, the iShares Bitcoin Trust. Take a look at the 15-minute chart here. We can see that yesterday for the past couple of days, we've been kind of bidding up off of this 36 mark. So if I'm going to be looking at this name here, I'm going to be asking, if we come back down to this 36, is there a chance for us catching a little bit of a bid there? But we saw what Bitcoin is doing. If it's going to continue to the upside there, I think that we can definitely look for some of these highs as well to come in. Similar kind of story here with ETH. ETH coming into that 3.5 area right here. Strong trend over the past couple of days there. So I know that there's also ETHE on the pink sheets. I know Sean likes to take that one as well, as it does some decent liquidity. There's also GBTC. There's Riot Mara. There's Coinbase as well. Coinbase yesterday was super, super strong there. 236s, 234s. Straight bounce and closing near high of day there at just above that 250, 252 highs just before the close in the last 15-minute candle there. Taking a little bit of a pullback here, but look, we had a little bit of a consolidation midday there where the bid caught back on at that 244. We're only about a couple points away from there. So the question I ask again, is if this bid is real, where can it potentially catch? But it caught here yesterday, so I'll be looking at some of those areas here and here to see if Coinbase catches another bid today. Again, with confluence with a Bitcoin trend if that continues.
It's not bad, actually. Let's go to DJT to wrap things up here. If you go back to that initial down move on the stock, we came back into 35.50, 35.75, going back to after the close 2 days ago, and then we held that throughout the day yesterday. We're right back there again. Touched it twice here in the pre-market, back above 36. There's really no significant headlines here for DJT, but it is active once again pre-market.
Yeah, as the Republican National Convention is in full swing, this name will likely be on our watch list. So I'll just give you some details on this name. Look, we always kind of jokingly say that it's not really generating much in the way of revenue, but here's what their balance sheet looks like. $350 million in cash and zero debt on its balance sheet as of July 1st. Keep your eye on this one. It also had that deal with Yorkville yesterday, under which Yorkville agreed to purchase about $2.5 billion worth of Trump Media common stock. Upon execution. There's no specific date as to when that will take place.
I'm just keeping an eye on the market here as well. Fed's Barkin making some comments coming through, including it's possible that monetary policy impacts are slower to be felt than before. So anyways, nothing happening as far as the market is concerned.
Yeah, so we're just, look, DJT, this is one to monitor, not necessarily, hey, it's gonna rally today. Ironically, I think it was like Dennis Dick was tweeting out, like, the Trump stock today is Intel, right? Because obviously the comments with regards to Taiwan are going to tank a bunch of chip names and then build it home is what's positive for Intel. So if you're wondering why Intel's doing $5.5 million of volume and it's up 5%, that's the reason. DJT, it's great when you consolidate like this on a stock which is a potential breakout candidate. Because if it just lulls everybody to sleep, which is exactly what it's been doing the last couple of days, without falling apart, like there's like this breakdown underneath 39, it just did not fill in the gap, which is the move I looked for ultimately yesterday. And I was in the consolidation. It failed 39. I'm like, okay, short the consolidation. If it goes, we're gonna have a home run. It doesn't, so we basically have a flat trade or a couple of flat trades on it. But now it can break 39, and well, no one's paying attention to it. But it needs something to get that going. I don't know what the catalyst today that's going to get this to break out 39 could be, but if it happens, I think you got to be able to gravitate over towards it. If we're looking at meme names, maybe worth at least some attention was what happened the last couple of sessions in GameStop. Like, I know it's in an upward trend. Beyond Meat had a move as well. I think this could provide you with something if it gets and breaks that $30 level. But how about you want relative volume and a mover? It's Cassava Sciences. Not Kava. Cassava. I say Cassava Sciences and type in CAVA. It's like the mind works that way, everybody. Like if I'm saying a word, I'm typing it incorrectly. You know, Cassava Sciences, 2.5 million shares, CEO and some of the C-suite stepping down, getting the ouster, and you had concerns over essentially fraudulent practices with one of their with trial results. That's not good. It is bouncing off a monster level where we had that huge volume dip at 880. So I think some patience is required. It'll be short sell restricted, obviously, at the open because it's down 27%. So into this area, the $10 level, if it's breaking out from here, let it go. That's me. Like the news is so bad, I'm not really thinking SSR bounce today because it probably already did it off the level that you want. Like it went 880 and then came back to $10. I think that's what you would be asking for at the open. I think you've got the $10 level and then you've got this $11 area in here. And at that point, even like 12, like I'll be looking to short pops as opposed to the SSR bounce on Cassava Sciences. Before I throw it to Obi, we do have nothing of particular interest on the imbalance locator early. TSM's a sell, 500,000, which makes some sense. They are of concern today. And Palantir, 350,000 sell. Nothing else really standing out. NVDA, 200,000 to the sell side. It's mostly sells here on names that aren't penny stocks and small cap stocks. So Intel will be looking for that 35.50. Cassava Sciences want to look to short a pop there. Already Apple's breaking down. And I want to patiently short pops. I got AMD and NVIDIA on my mind, but you can't just stand in front of it because I think this market could try to bounce first.
Yeah, no, I think again, looking at DJT here, last ticker on the rundown that we covered just before the open here. We only got about a couple minutes left here, but yeah, we had that strong push coming in on Monday. We sold off quite aggressively, and then now we're holding here on much lower volume here. You can see here on like our vol, we're doing 0.1 relative volume in the pre-market there. So on low volume, it's kind of failing to follow through to the downside, which it showed some strong direction in on Monday. Tuesday, trading sideways, holding above some of these prior levels as well. We know that DJT has been a little bit of a mover over the past couple of months there. You can see here, look right there. So in March, it started moving, strong move in April as well, bit of a strong move in the middle to end of June as well. And now we're getting this move here in the middle of July. So DJT, nice little range potentially forming here sideways. Can't really sell off that aggressively, but when and if it gets that volume coming in, it always has a strong little push to the upside there. So I'm going to be watching this one. If it fails to follow through, maybe a bigger picture kind of idea story going on here with DJT, but I think I definitely need some more information before I can kind of indulge into this one here. Prior day high 38.70s, and then kind of lows at 35.80s. A bit of a tighter range that was formed yesterday. Let's see what we do with said range coming in today if we're going to have any sort of volume coming into this ticker.
Yeah, and with only just over 1 minute to go here, if you're just tuning in, I see some people, why is the market down? Comments overnight, Taiwan should be protecting itself or paying for protection. That came from President Trump and former President Trump. And there's some concerns, again, that you're just going to be raising some of the barriers to exports and imports into China from chip, not just chips in general, ASML getting hit because their equipment is a big deal. Like literally half of their growth in the recent quarter was sales into China. So Intel's up because they can make chips at home, and that seems to be all the rage. Going to come to this chart just for a quick second. 35.5 was a triple top breakout that just happened on Intel. You're through 36. Previous resistance turning into support will be the first thing I look for. And even if you lose that, you've got the 35 was a resistance level, and then you have the break from 34.4. I'm going to be looking to buy dips on Intel. If I lose on a long today, let it be the strongest stock. That's my approach. Want to look to short some pops because I think we might be able to get something at the open on some of those chips. But as I say that, Apple just made a fresh low, and it continues to go down. The NASDAQ just made a fresh low. The ES just made a fresh low as we're about to ring this bell on I was about to say Taco Tuesday, on a Wednesday, hump day in 3, 2, and 1. Ring it, Adara. Wow, right. That was aggressive, and it broke the mallet. Well done. Oh my goodness. Intel, no dip just of yet. We want to be patient, looking to short some pops. I had mentioned Cassava Sciences as well. I'm only looking short, not SSR bounce. Not a lot of volume off the open in Cassava Sciences. It's kind of waiting to do anything. What the heck? Cassava hasn't even really printed. It hasn't moved more than 1 cent here at the open. That is very surprising. It's almost like it's not going anywhere and halted, but it's not. So Intel, the heck is going on with Sava? Intel pulling back off the 36 level. If we get a dip into 35.5, that'll be the first look. Apple is attempting to bounce, and NVIDIA is not waiting for anybody. It's going to test 120 right away. I want to be patient. We're looking first at pre-market highs for fade play.
Yeah, market's kind of holding their range here. 36, I'm watching as well. I got some lines on the chart, prior levels in and around that 36. We're also breaking out of that 35.5. So let's see if that pressure kind of comes in off of the open. Okay, so I'm getting some alerts here for the Qualcomm. Not really going to take a look at that as of right now here. But yeah, a lot of earnings names as well today, right? And from yesterday, some of the banks coming in. Oh, wow, look at that. It slaps right up. 36.30s on Intel. So wow. Nice little aggression to the upside. Definitely coming in and breaking that. Look at that stack at 36 halves. Takes out that stack right away, right off the bat. Let me just throw on a size filter for you guys here so you guys can follow along on the book. to see any sort of significant size that may have pulled in. But that 36 hold, oh boy, are we really pushing off? Look at that consolidation in and around that 36. Honestly, I was like, all right, do we pull back down to VWAP? No real relief, no dips on Intel. That pressure coming right in, trading back into that 35.50s. Let's see if we can get to 37. But again, a little bit of confluence here, right? A little bit of catalyst, technical breakout, strong volume, strong relative volume, strong action in the pre-market as well. And we're pushing right off of the bat. And again, NQ trading below that 20,300. So we're going to have to watch out for that one as well. Here comes a 75, some size sitting on 80s, gets taken out as well. So that is aggressive for Intel.
Every 50 cents, I think you just try to look for a dip buy. I tried to grab 36s, and there was no dip. Cassava Sciences just wicked the pre-market. Not the pre-market highs, but you guys can see pre-market resistance, got wicked, it came back underneath the 10 level. So I shorted 96s and 97s, just got filled off of VWAP. Gonna look to take some more shares out. The first trade is gonna be Sava to the downside as we're going to Adara. Intel is flying, and NVDA testing that pre-market high. I wanna look short there as well, Adara.
Keep an eye on AEHR here, Air Test Systems. This one did report yesterday. Bit of a smaller name here. We have a market cap of around $486 million and a float of about 20.2%. So decent short float for this one, beating across the board here for EPS and sales and projecting higher than expected fiscal 2025 revenue. So AEHR, and watch for looking for a smaller name with a short float, guys.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. AEHR making some power moves. Apple making a power move. Still have my eyeballs on Intel, but here comes NVIDIA into the pre-market top. 122 change is going to be that high. If you're looking to fade a pop, this is probably going to be your chance. Doesn't even want to get to 50s. Patience, Neil, be patient. Right, I'll stick an offer at the high just so we can get something in. Ooh, Sava gave me the fill downstairs, but then could not hold underneath 10. Remember, it's short sell restricted. Always going to have a tight stop on a short sell restricted stock. It should be dumping all over itself if it's going to fall. And if it's not doing that, then I don't mind getting out of Dodge. So I'll be happy to take 30 to 40 cents and risk about 10 to 15 if I have to and look for another entry point and do it. All right, here comes a pullback in Intel. This could be our chance to actually get in.
Yeah. So I did get a little bit short there off of that.
Ooh, you shorted 37.
Pull back in. Yeah, just off of that 37. Just seeing, again, I was looking for that buying to kind of start to dissipate. But again, getting in on the first sign, maybe a little too early there, but let's see. It is a bit extended to the upside. 36, 37, interesting prices. I like that 36. Nice little consolidation in the pre-market. A lot of volume going on here and dips getting bought in. I have VWAP down at 35.84, so quite a ways away as of right now in terms of where VWAP stands. But let's see if we can come into VWAP. And again, if the bid is real, where will it catch? I think VWAP's a good place to look. Pre-market consolidation highs at that 36, another great place to look there. But we're holding 36 halves as of right now. We saw a strong stack of size that went through in and around that 36 half as of right now. And we're trading below that aggressive to the, I guess, aggressive on both ways right here. I have SOX S here as well, holding some of this 21 level here. So going to be on watch. ES and the NQ. ES catching a little bit of a bid here. NQ holding on, still trading below this 20,300 there. So there's that aggressive, I guess, bid coming right back in on Intel. Let's see if we can come in. And yeah, I might be wrong on this ticker, but we shall see. I will
remember DJT?
Yeah, what's going on with DJT?
39. DJT is breaking out and going absolutely ham. You've got to be kidding me. We're like, whatever, it needs a catalyst. Apparently, DJT does not need a specific catalyst. It's right at yesterday's high. The order I have is a 39 break, so if you're wondering what that green thing is, I'm not offering to short DJT up here. It's a 39 break that I have in play. If we dip, you got to trade what's moving. If we dip, 37.5 is that resistance level. Let me zoom in so you can see that maybe a little bit better. So 37.5 right in here. If we dip, great. If we break out 39, we'll try to grab it. And Intel,
yeah, stop me up.
Like, you forget about forget about the deep dip buys here. It's got to be shallow. I have to play something a little bit more shallow on Intel if we want to be able to grab it. So DJT is defying everything and continuing to go higher. 39 breaks certainly going to be in play. And there's just no bounce like I wanted to short on NVIDIA. Right back at the lows. I'm trying to be really patient about this, but it's right back at the low of the day. I just might have to sneak in at VWAP or something a little bit more nuanced here. AMD also, by the way, is flushing like crazy. Was that Adara? Okay, Adara.
You are here. We're getting some comments coming from Fed's Waller, who started speaking at 9:35, saying that the Fed is apparently getting closer to the time when it could be warranted for a policy rate cut. So basically saying rate cuts are near. Keep an eye on those comments. Also, another small cap on watch here is going to be LCFY. This is local 5. This one did move last week. That was that Australian small cap that had a nice move up last week. No news on this one, but they do have a float of around 989,000 shares. So very small float, and they have run before. LCFY.
LCFY, yeah, I don't want to get that mixed up with that Lucy stock there. Like, so you got a 39 breakout. I don't know if you want to hold. You got to give us a little bit of room. I think the reality of this break is the previous dip level is right in here. Previous resistance is like 36, 38 and a half. So the fact that it can't hold on to it, we scalped out half, and I'm looking for a reload. But if it cannot hold on in here, this one is going to be gonzo to the downside. Oh, Intel, another dip buy is coming in. All right, I'm on the bid of Intel at 36 and a half. So if you see that come in, I'm going to pop into the long there. But I'm looking for something to be able to add on DJT if it's going to hold this first dollar. Resistance isn't until 42 on DJT. So I think it's a scalp the first dollar and then hold to 42, looking for a dip. If it can start holding 38.50, we'll be into it. You got to be kidding me. Intel just held 70s? Yeah. You can't get into this stock. You're short it though.
Yeah,
okay.
I tried again on the back through that 37. I mean, it's working for now. Again, I could be wrong. I tried it once. That bid was aggressive back into that 37, and then that 37 fails to follow through pretty much right away. So I did like the short right back in. Just a little bit of a reversion. Again, the first one a little bit mean, but let's see if this one's a little bit nicer here. I got some moving averages up. It's been trending up. Again, VWAP in and around that 36 mark. A lot of volume transacting at that 36. So let's see if that acts as a bit of a magnet here. Here comes your 36 halves, Neil. So this is where that bid kind of came in real hot last time from the lows of, what is this, 36.40s. It came in real hot, and then we're trading right back in. So any and every long that might have been there might be a little interested in and around this area here. 36.50s incoming here on Intel. SOX S coming right back in. So it seems like chips might be bidding up a little bit there. So I do have to keep an eye on that one there. Yeah, no, I guess I'm watching a lot of these other tickers here. I don't know why this is not updating as of right now. Some of my charts seem like they're delayed on the other platform, but I will continue to watch.
Do the old log out and log back in.
Yeah. Have you tried turning it on?
Have you tried turning it on and off? Hey man, if it works for an old man like me, then it worked for anybody. So I got in at VWAP. Remember we wanted pre-market highs on NVIDIA? Well, if NVIDIA is not going to get up there, the wick just happened. 121.70 is top. Underneath VWAP, we grab the short. It's right back into the lows. I don't want to be sitting this move out if it gets to 120 bucks and then asking myself if I want a 120 breakdown. I want to be short this into 120 bucks. We're going to short pops on NVIDIA as long as it's underneath that pre-market high. We'll hunt back to that pre-market high. Just realized I didn't have my stop order in, which is silly. We always want to trade with a stop. So we thought we'd be focused on the chips, and we took a couple of shots in Sava and DJT, neither of which worked out. And now we're finally in the chip name. So we got the short at VWAP here on NVIDIA. You might still make a breakout on DJT, and I don't mind jumping back if it can hold a 29. But for now, it's failed that 29 level. And let's put the focus back in the chips where they need to be. So you got NVIDIA pulling back into VWAP to give me an entry, and you've got Intel finally doing some kind of a dip. This could be, like VWAP on Intel is like way out there, like 36.25. So if it's going to bounce somewhere, 36 to 36.25 is going to be the place to go. That LCFY still making some power moves, by the way, for everybody. Starting to pull back. If you like this name, it is definitely holding trend to the upside. But my focus, like I said, Intel, NVIDIA now, AMD starting to move around a little bit. Apple, we're not even going to get to at this point. because the focus is still on the chips.
Yeah, chips with a little bit of a dip over the past couple of days there. That dip tasting quite nice as well. I'm hearing crickets in my ears. Thanks, guys. But look at that, 20,200 incoming on the NQ as Intel comes into that VWAP there. So let's see, there's that 3630s. Let's see if we see anything interesting on the book. 300 lots gets taken right out there. So yeah, we saw much bigger size, relatively bigger earlier on the way up, getting taken out in and around 36 halves, 3680s as well. A lot of size that was taken out. And then now we're trading below that with a little bit of a wick shimmy action off of that 37 mark there. And yeah, let's see if that 37, if that's a failure to follow through. I am more concerned with this consolidation that happened in the pre-market, very, very tight. 36 to 3580s, 3560s-ish area here. If we can come back into that consolidation, I know that, again, doing significant relative volume in the pre-market, so a lot of participation at those levels. We're looking for players offside, and that's where a lot of players potentially are sitting from the pre-market session. So let's see
like
what
Spain
we do.
was almost.
Sorry?
Like Spain was almost offside. It was so close.
Okay, all right. I mean, nice. I did not see the match, but go Sports.
Wow. It's yay sports.
How was that match? I don't know.
I'm an England fan.
Okay,
it was not good. It was bad. It sucked. You know what? If you lose to the best team, fair enough. And if you trade the best setups, that's what you should try to do. So remember yesterday, 18 at the open on Rivian, or at least 18 in the pre-market, and then lower high at the open. Same setup. It broke 18, wicked to 18.05, comes back down, short the pop, played a VWAP and all that good stuff. I'm still looking for some kind of a sign of strength off VWAP and Intel. I think we're starting to get it in here. So if we're patient, this is the start of being patient. It's held once. I want to see the buyers step in at 36, 35 or so. Like it's right around 36.20 that you're going to have that recent low, but the buyers are starting to come into it. Now they're starting to walk it up. I can get something in here. It has to hold. If it doesn't hold like 36.25, then we're in trouble on it. And NVIDIA, nope, that is not where we wanted it. NVIDIA is right back up to the top. So it's weird. I'm actually might get more short NVIDIA while getting into the Intel long, which can seem counterintuitive. But that's where we're at in this market. They were in different directions early. We'll see if they stay different directions now, because NVIDIA was actually close to a reload zone.
Yeah, no, I definitely like that look there. 36 coming in right there. There's a bit of a stacked offer there, sitting on the ask. Couldn't really get through it. 36.20s, I think it was at right there. Let's see. Yeah, Buddy's still there at 36.22s with about 275 lots on the NASDAQ book. Let's see if that 36 comes in. We are technically testing that consolidation range from the pre-market, catching a little bit of volatility here as we pop up and down off of that 36 mark. Let's see what we do in and around that 36. So I guess that Buddy at 22s, did he get taken? It would seem like he got taken on the ask, and we are trading a little bit lower than some of those prior levels here. VWAP 36.12 I have, so we are holding as of right now on top of VWAP. So let's see what we do in and around here. NQ still kind of weak, coming in to test that 20,200 right now. Let's see what our friend NVIDIA is up to. NVIDIA 21s coming in, so pre-market lows coming in. Amazon flushing to the downside. So is Alphabet. So is Apple. Softy, not as much. Softy's just holding on sideways.
Have you seen Tesla?
I have not seen Tesla, Neil. What is that? Am I missing out on Tesla once again?
Tesla just went green on the day.
Wow.
Well,
oh my God, breaking yesterday's highs.
Not yet. It hasn't broken yesterday's highs. This is a real wick at the open. It did get to 258, so 258 is the top of the channel. Oh my goodness, it's flushing. I never actually got that reload. It got out of Intel when it didn't hold VWAP there, but I never got the reload on NVIDIA. That was wild. I was right there on the offer, and it just ran away instantly. So Tesla's at the spot. I'm going to zoom in so you can see it, but look how strong this is. It's got to be some kind of a back-end entry if you're looking to fade it, and I'm not seeing one right now. So as I mentioned on NVIDIA, it came right up into VWAP. I was like, oh, I'm about to get filled. Nothing. No fill up there on NVIDIA. I'm looking for 120 out, and then we'll take another trade, maybe a breakdown through 120, VWAP retracements. AMD, if you're looking for weakness, and the market's bouncing, AMD can't get to VWAP. AMD and NVIDIA are both weak, but I feel as if I might get the buck on NVIDIA, but AMD's giving you more. So I want to be on both these, and if I'm in the wrong one, I can always look back to VWAP here on AMD. So NVIDIA's not bad. It's just AMD is clearly better to the south side. GME's near 30, as everyone is mentioning. I can see you guys in the chat talking about it. Big time move to the upside on GME. No halts on that stock there, Darwin, just yet. Was that a Dara?
Weakness in some of these social media stocks here, including Snapchat and Meta. Just to contextualize, some of this move down potentially. We did have comments yesterday evening from President candidate Donald Trump here saying that he's, quote, for TikTok. So as we have a potential, I guess, TikTok ban updates here, keep an eye on SNAP and META selling off after we had that comment yesterday, guys.
Snapchat.
Right, thank you.
All right, there goes Tesla. This might be the one shot. All
36
one
broke
shot.
As of right. Wow, 2,000. What is that? That's a stack. That was a thick ask right there. Over 1,800 lots sitting on the ask. 3580s. Did they get taken? I didn't even see that. That's absolutely wild. So that's a huge order that was sitting there.
I didn't see it.
Bit of a, maybe, I don't know. I don't think it got filled. My filters aren't really showing that there. But as of right now,
I know you like
wild.
a good thick ask there.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes
Oh,
that's
boy.
important to find on when you're looking for the short. Wow, try to say that with a straight face, and it doesn't really
That was
work.
thick.
I didn't see it, which I turned my head because that's what you do when a brother yells out that he saw a thick ass. But I didn't see anything on Intel myself, unfortunately. No, the radar's always got to be up. Now I'm shorting Tesla, which is the strongest stock, but the radar is always open. This is like when I'm in high school at the fair. Like the radar is there. If you tell me I know what to do, it's just I missed it. Tesla is absolutely flying. I just grabbed the short here at 57.5. It was pushing down. I got the 50s. I had the bid down the next $0.50. But we said one spot. If it goes into that 58 area and shows me a curl, that's where I'm taking a shot. Got to wait for it to show me some kind of a high. It wicked the top and gave me an entry. But there's no fighting this. None. If it breaks a high, I got to jump out of this trade. We should be either pushing back into 255, 56, or nothing doing over there on Tesla. NVIDIA does not give me the fill at the bottom. Might be a VWAP retracement still coming in again on NVIDIA, so I have to move the target in here. You cancel the old offers on NVIDIA and look for the next available curl. So obviously you can tell, like I'm looking for a fade on these pops. It's just a matter of getting the entry here on NVDA. And I said I would look at AMD as well if it gave you a chance, but AMD's not a VWAP either. So those level twos I have up, if it gives me the trade, we'll take it. If I don't get it, so be it. You know, if it's not going to give you the trade you want, wow, the buyers are heavy at 57 on Tesla. There's a lot of buyers at 57. Adara?
Stock's not really reacting to this, but just be aware right now, AMZN, this report coming out and circulating around a bit on social media as well. Adobe reporting that customers spent $7.2 billion on the first day of the U.S. Prime Day event. That event does end today. So first day, according to this Adobe report, spending of $7.2 billion for Prime. AMZN on watch here, guys.
Man, I want to get to Amazon. There's so many names that you could try to be getting to, but you can't focus on that many level twos at once. So I did get some out at Tesla. Tesla finally broke that 57 for a hot minute, got down to the 3/4, and the buyers stepped right back up. It's telling me something. Either it consolidates down here and flushes into 55, or it runs the top. There will not be a reload at this high for me. It should be working right here, right now. And as we're worrying about that, here comes AMD into VWAP. You're not seeing that at all on NVIDIA. I'll just show you guys. When I look up, I'm just looking at the level twos, the stocks I'm watching. I'm looking at NVIDIA. You're not getting a short the pop situation there, but you are getting a chance to maybe get into a little bit of AMD. And now I will look somewhere else.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Look at this.
It's continuing to flush. The reversion trade is reverting.
I mean, look, we're just trying to look for players offside, right? And there's like failure to follow through 37, back through the size that we saw at 36 halves, back through the size that we saw at 36 80s. offer on the ask at 35.80s as well on the way down, breaking pre-market consolidations below 36, breaking pre-market consolidation high into 36, and then breaking the lows at 35.60s. So yeah, there might be some players offside. I'm looking for anything distinctly different now coming into the book there. But yeah, that size in the 80s definitely was very, very interesting, catching a little bit of a bid here on a bit of a moving average. Let's see if we can get down to that double top. That double top, actually, I guess we did 35 halves-ish. We're in that area right now, that double top from the prior days that we were talking about, potentially coming in here. So let's see.
Wow.
You know what? I do expect a little bit of a bid to come in off of that prior resistance area, potentially turning into support there on Intel. Let's see if that can come in pretty nicely. What is going on? Yeah, Intel, a little bit of a flex.
Dumped into that 35.5. Tesla just pulled into. You'll see me out of Tesla. It's a simple strategy. This is the high. This was its support. Then you play that range. So if it bounces, it's a strong stock, everybody. So a strong stock, I'm going to play step to step. You get the $2 move, you get in, get out like a ninja, and throw it over to Adara. Bless you, Refrain.
This part of the show is brought to you by Benzinga Pro. Are you tired of being late to the trade, always playing catch up in the market, missing out on the big moves because you're too slow to the news? Benzinga Pro is your unfair advantage. Get breaking news alerts up to 30 minutes before everyone else. Pinpoint exactly why stocks are moving, and join a thriving community of traders who share their strategies in real time. Ready to see how Benzinga Pro can transform your trading? Visit benzinga.com/pro and get a free 14-day trial.
Wow. If you look at we talk about like rotation or whatever, but we got to come up with a cooler word than rotation for what's happening in the Russell. Look at the IWM breaking out the top and just absolutely going nuts. Like you're just flying here. Another day, another monster bounce for IWM. So if you're wondering why, there's some traders in the back yelling about the Russell, I hear it. We want to respect it. They are absolutely flying. Look over. If we bounce off VWAP on Tesla, there might be a long play in there. If I'm wrong about this, then it is what it is. Oh, Intel is at that 35.5 level. So this is right at that key. Should have had this as a breakout. Obviously, when it breaks this level in the pre-market, that's one thing. But if I lose on a trade, I want them to look like that. Like I want it to be a tight stop where we looked at it, we only took it at the level we liked. So 35.5 doesn't hold. I think you just got to jump out of it. But if you're looking for runners, look over in the small caps maybe. Like that could be the place to go. IWM is absolutely flying. Find something on the Russell if you're looking for it. Intel bouncing off 35.5, but Yanni in the back yelling about the IWM. Yes, we got to focus on the trades that we're in.
Yanni just said Russ is the best rapper ever. These are words I would have never thought I would hear from Yanni's mouth. But yes, Yanni, thank you. Straight facts.
That's a name with a history at this trading floor. But I can't actually say
36 is coming right back in.
Yes, AMC. I just heard in my ear that AMC is going. It's that kind of day. I'm not even going to pull up the chart. Well, I mean, maybe in a second I will. I'm not going to because we just got that bounce off 35.5. I got 65s, played 1-to-1, just a little bit better than that up here at 85 for 20 cents. VWAP now sits at 36.15. That's a rejection at 37 to me. We tried a VWAP bounce, didn't work. When that happens, I look at VWAP and say, play this to VWAP. Show me confirmation on a higher low that 35.5 is holding. If it doesn't, then we just jump out of Dodge. And we're happy that we caught that falling knife and we're able to find something. Now I can go and look at something else, like an AMC, which is approaching highs, like a GME, which is not necessarily breaking 30 yet. All right, we like GME for dip buys into VWAP when it's trending and not breakouts. So that's usually my plan, and it sets up at $29. I think that would be the better play. And I'd rather be involved in that. NVIDIA is just not giving me what I want in terms of reloading this short. So we're not able to get any money fills bumping over VWAP and coming back down. It's just not giving you that opportunity. It's essentially wicking up and then immediately rejecting here on NVIDIA. So we're not getting the entries we want on NVIDIA, and it's a similar story with AMD here. It's just not really pressing to give you the shorts. That's how weak this is. It's so heavy that you have to almost jump the short as opposed to look for a normal entry. But working for now, we're just going to hold on until we see 120 on NVIDIA.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of watching the book a little close here on the Intel as we're holding that 35 half level, right? We talk about that being a little bit of a double top, a little bit of a bounce coming off of it. I think a little expected as that was a clear resistance area turning into support. But again, that crazy move that we had in the pre-market plus this consolidation, we're holding below or in that area, in that range, breaking back below that 36 as well. Some interesting price action nonetheless. Let's see if this can come down into some of those earlier pre-market levels. I'm looking at 35s, 35 half, obviously interesting as well. We're only trading about 20 pennies just off of that 35 half level there. Again, we talk about players potentially being offside. Pre-market consolidation, a little interesting here that we are trading below. I guess shorts were offside there. And I guess longs would be offside underneath that level as well. But speaking of shorts being offside, Russell is definitely rustling some feathers there for the shorts with that squeeze type of action breaking through, what is that, 225s, 226s, 226.63 I see on IWM high of day as of right now. Super, super strong. So congrats to anybody who had that long. Can't stop, won't stop. Bit of a continuation trade as well over the past few days. Have you seen the daily chart on IWM, Neil?
Yes, we have.
Absolutely wild.
It is a beast.
Gap after gap, multiple gaps.
And you know what you do when you see those gaps?
Oh, boy.
You fill the gaps. That's what you do.
Oh, yeah.
Spring the trap. Oh, well, that Yannick said spring the trap. Hey, if it's a trap, then maybe I think Tesla's a trap at this short again. That's my gut feeling is if it's coming right back into that 258, let it actually show me a lower high and heavy sell before even thinking about this. Like, you got to be happy when you have one level you like, it gives you the trade, but come on, like the stock is screaming into those highs. As everyone said, the Russell's going absolutely nuts. Sometimes the best trade you make is the one that you get out of right away. As I said, if I'm trading, I would rather get the win and hold it to the next level. But if I don't get it, I just jump out. If you just take the 10-cent hit. Don't have to fight the stock. If you like a short, well, let it get to 19. Maybe look for a long up here if it consolidates above 18.30, but don't hold it all the way. That's just how you're going to get yourself into some trouble. NVIDIA's working down toward the 120 level. And shout out to you in the chat, Darwin, mentioning PL to the TR, Palantir, which is still on the New York Stock Exchange, Neil, and it is right at yesterday's high. I won't be punching any tops on Palantir. My focus is either reloading Intel, NVIDIA 120, which we're at right now. If NVIDIA holds 120, I'm going to get out on a bounce. It's about 1 million shares on the bid. Is that right? Yeah, it's about 1 million shares on the bid of NVIDIA. If it wicks this, I could be counting wrong, but I count about 1 million shares on the bid of NVIDIA at $120. Someone just stepped up in front of 121. If it holds, I'm just going to jump out, then make another trade. Because if it does a false break, then you might be able to short this pop back at VWAP. If it holds underneath, it could just be a clean move. And there's the break. It was a false break on NVIDIA, so at least temporarily that was the right decision, getting out at 120. And we'll look for a VWAP retracement here on NVDA. It's already 10 o'clock. What's happening now, Adara? My quote is jacked up on NVIDIA.
No shortage of catalysts or things to look at today, that is for sure. Big move down here for the NASDAQ, big move down for a lot of these big tech names. We have the SPY right now down just under 1% here. We do have, especially as led by the chips, with these reports that the U.S. is actually looking to intensify their restrictions on sending advanced chips to China. So that's certainly something to keep an eye on. But we did have some more dovish comments from Feds Waller. We also had some building and housing data coming in a bit higher than expected. So pretty mixed picture, both economically and for stocks. But a lot of specific catalysts to look at, including Gitlab. This one's still up about 10%, though falling a little bit here. Reuters reporting that they're exploring a sale with buyers, including Datadog, potentially. We also have TSM here, so Taiwan Semi, down about 6.5%. The main catalyst for this one earlier today was Donald Trump suggesting that Taiwan should be paying the U.S. for its defense. We also did have as well this report from Digitimes Alert suggesting that TSM's output has been increasing. So interesting look here for TSM, still down more than 6%. Last but not least, Five Below, FIVE, this one down about 16% right now. having a lot of analyst downgrades across the board here after reporting sales for its 10-week period. Had comparable sales decreased by 5%. They also lowered their Q2 guidance in that regard. So FIVE to the downside, guys.
I got 5 on it. Good song, but fortunately they don't have 5 on it. And nobody's got anything on the bid of NVIDIA at all. Right through that 120. There was a hold of 120 temporarily that had me thinking we're going to get the pop to jump right back into the short. Yeah, that didn't happen. 119.50 you're now sitting at. So you ask yourself, what has not broken lows? What has room to go? ARM's down 6% and hasn't broken the low of the day, which puts it in range to a short into 170. I always know exactly where I want to go for a continuation trade. ARM, AMD, NVIDIA, AMD's already breaking the lows, but with ARM not going, you've got 169, you've got 170. If there is a bounce here, you've got a breakdown underneath 167 as well. And to take you guys right back over to Tesla. So if you took it, my gut said don't go into the short again. Yeah, it wicked the top and then gives you the short right back into VWAP on Tesla. So Tesla giving you that 258 short again. But you know what? It's certainly holding VWAP in here. Still a super strong stock. And going back in Intel, I feel like it's starting to calm down off this 35.5. It's a higher low. Like while we're short in NVIDIA and looking for a way to get back in, Intel put in that higher low off of 35.5. Why a line on the chart there that it happened to bounce off of? It's just this previous top, and it's actually more than just once that it hit this high. It's several times it hit that 35.5 high. So that was going to be the dip buy that we liked. Still no retest of VWAP yet. Big yet.
Yeah, no, I'm just to watch. So that, yeah, the 35.5 came in once. We're pulling back into that 36 as of right now. I do have, I guess I accumulated a lot on the way down there. Some at decent prices, some maybe not at the best, but that 36 coming right back in. Let's see if it stays a little interesting here. It was interesting a little bit lower there in the 60s. Bit of an edge A chaser. There's some size on the NASDAQ book on the bid getting taken out right there. 85s coming in. Let's see if we can kind of pull back in or we push back up towards 36, right? I just got to stay nimble, got to stay flexible there. Maybe, I don't know. I'm thinking like on that 35 halves, I definitely had to be covering a little bit there, but bigger picture, we are failing some of these pre-market levels as well as the 37 failure to follow through. And take a look at the NQ. The NQ is selling off quite aggressively, Neil, and a bit of a pullback there on the Russell as well. But yeah, what do you got going on? I see that you're chopping up a little bit of Tesla there. Tesla.
I should have jumped back into it.
Crazy move, man.
I mean, at the end of the day, you always have to trade your strategy, and I'll go with my gut when the stock is trending in one direction. And sometimes just not try to fight it. If it gives you the one time, the second time it gets to the level, maybe it's going to show a breakout. ARM is showing no bid whatsoever. You're absolutely flying to the downside. So all I'm in left is Intel, and I got the eyeballs on Tesla. If it does break this trend, it could get nasty, but it's holding on to the trend. And I look over at Rivian. This looks more like it's retracing as well back into VWAP. So those are the two things trending up that I have the eyeballs on. We mentioned GameStop. If you're looking for things that are strong, like it was very early, some squeeze names that were going. Look at this, all the way back into VWAP. Not a death candle, but a huge rejection candle on this one. It needs to establish some strength. I don't think you want to catch the falling knife on that particular name. So Intel breaks 36. We'll look for a place for reentries on that. And let's go over to something which I've had up, but I have not traded. You could just be shorting Apple on pops as well. But if we do see something on Apple, I'm just going to mention here, 226. If we see Apple 226, and it's probably unlikely that it happens, 223. Those would be the buy zones. If we calm down around 11 o'clock in midday, that would be a spot that I'd want to pick up Apple. When it dumped this same area, you got a 226. I'm talking literally the same area. From here all the way to about 226. If we see 226, I'm going to like it. But all we have is Intel, and it's at that 36 level. If it can't get through VWAP now, it may never. And you could just have a false break and another stair step down. So this is where the eyeballs will be.
Yeah, that was a VWAP test right there, just above that 36. And as soon as that 36 comes in, slams back down for 20 pennies.
Yeah.
We're trading 35.8s. It seems like VWAP might be an interesting area nonetheless. Just underneath that 36, again, confluencing with some of this pre-market consolidation high area here, just above that 36 mark. So continuing to kind of watch this 36, see if it stays a little interesting. Again, market, we broke below that 20,200 there, but Intel kind of doing its own thing in a sense here, but it seems like, I guess some of these chips are selling off quite aggressively. You can see that NVDA did get below that 120 mark, Neil. So it seems like that size, what was it? You said there was over a million worth of shares there.
I ballparked it at $1 million, something like that. Ooh.
Yeah, bit of a, I guess a bit of a chop here. 36 is gonna continue watching this. I did kind of size into this a little aggressively there, but take a look at the market, man. I guess it's not really following market sentiment. Wow, IWM all the way back down to VWAP there, 226 to 224s, absolutely wild. Some of these pullbacks here on the market here. BAC. Okay, I guess that's you.
I hate myself.
You were talking about BAC. What's going on with
Neil reads notes. Continuation on earnings. Bounce off 43.5. Well, okay, Tesla was fun. Not gonna. NVIDIA was fun. BAC. Forget about. I know I said the memes are strong, and it's like look for a meme name or something that was strong this morning, or like Intel was strong. But the banks, why not? Good earnings, day two play. Still have a double top that could break out. So there's 44.4. Maybe we get VWAP at 44 even. You can see support there. Join trend. Relative weakness is relative weakness as far as I'm concerned. And you just want to play it. NVIDIA, we got out too early on NVIDIA. But you got to look to what is next. ARM has yet to give any consolidation after falling to the downside. And even Intel. Now you're looking at the overall. I'm watching the market tank. And I'm seeing a sign to get out of an Intel long. Forgetting that Intel is going in the opposite direction of the market right now. So it bounces off that 35.5 zone. We tried VWAP, didn't work. We wait for the next level, and we play it back into VWAP, but we get out a little bit early. So now we just have to be patient with it. I got the eyeballs over for that BAC. You have a nice trend emerging there. If we get any patient continuation on, say, NVIDIA, it's so far down here that I want to remember what we said in our prep, which was underneath 120, you have had big bounces off of here, 119, and then 117. When that happens, it's hard to just short the bottom unless you're really, really finely scalping it. So be patient. It's been a good morning. You don't necessarily want to throw it away at this point, right? So let's see BAC. That could be one as we let NVIDIA calm down for the next move.
Wow, I just got an alert for Spider as well. Apparently, we're pushing an ATR on the Spider as of right now as well. That doesn't happen very often, but I guess very, very strong flush to the downside can definitely bring that on here. 36 is having a bit of a problem here, just underneath VWAP again. So like VWAP, we've had some selling. We attempt a bid off of prior support at that prior resistance, maybe turn support at that 35 halves, pushing up into VWAP there, catching a little bit of resistance as the futures come all the way in to 20,100. Sorry, not 21,000. We rejected 21,000 a couple days ago, or was it sometime last week, I think. Again, off of some strong action there again. Selling off of CPI as well. Bit of a continuation move, it would seem, off of that sentiment kind of carrying forward there. 20,100. Oh boy, are we coming in real hot right now? You can see that SOX S is pushing up, held VWAP quite well. Nice little grind up on SOX S happening at the same time. Look at this one as well. Look at that. IWM coming all the way back, pretty much a V shape back to the downside here on IWM. That's pretty wild there. As the market flushes hard, I'm just sitting here. Intel holding on the bid a little bit there, so
they like it today.
A little concerning for the short side. But again, I'm going to try to stay as nimble as possible. If it comes in, it comes in. If it doesn't, that's perfectly fine. We'll get out and reassess once again as 36 holds as of right now here on Intel. Neil, what do you got going on? Are you still in your Intel or no?
Well, we took it out in front of VWAP. So that was one of two winning trades that we got out of too early. As I'm BAC, wow, the bid just really picked up on BAC. I'm on the teens, and it just already bounced to 25s. But I remember Tesla. I mean, look, the reality is, we have all different kinds of hosts on this show, and that idiot that told everybody not to short 258 again, just fire that guy. I don't know who that is. But whoever it is, they're fired as far as I'm concerned. It was actually better than the first short. You're plowing through any kind of resistance that you're going to see, but you got to move on to the next. This is what happened when I tried to get BAC just now on that dip. This is a 3-minute chart, so it's kind of hard to see. So it dipped right into the previous high. It bounced right here off 15, so I jumped into 16, didn't get it. I don't need it. 17, just didn't get anything as it's right back into the high. That's a strong stock, right? Like the second it goes into a dip level that probably people are gonna like and the buyers try to step in there, it runs away from said buyers. Clearly did the same thing at 44, so we're gonna have to find our way into this a little bit more patient. That's the idea. So BAC looking pretty good to the upside. We like this one trend up, find relative strength, find relative weakness, and then go over to them. NVIDIA is still trending down. So I'll have BAC up just in case we can get into it. NVIDIA getting close to that 117. It's really getting nasty. I've been asked a lot about crypto. I said Mara, I like the even dollar levels on the way back, 25, 24, 23. You could play pre-market low here if you're so inclined. Pre-market low already has a bit of a wick, but see the retracement. Why fight it at the level you didn't want in the first place? So not going to do it at all. I will look for re-entry if we can get it into Intel, one into BAC, and we still want to try to short some kind of a pop in one of the chip names. Eyeballs on ARM, AMD. I see a lot of names in there like Rivian. People are asking about Rivian, huge retrace off this high. I liked 18. Thankfully, we got out of the way of it. But it's now showing me, like if I like 18 before and it does that kind of a reversal, I can just play 18 again on a downtrend, right? Like that's the value of getting out, making a couple of winning trades elsewhere, and then letting it set back up again. So if Rivian decides to set back up, fade off of VWAP, I can just take that trade instead of holding it 50 cents against me and waiting for it to come all the way back in. Obviously, it would have worked if you just held the entire way. That's not a good way to go about business.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of a bounce there off of that 20,100. Intel still holding just in and around this area here. So let's see if that bounce can kind of bring in a little bit of the bid here. Bid coming in on IWM as well as, again, we talk about it doing a crazy V shape all the way back down. Now we're kind of V-shaping all the way. Well, not all the way back to VWAP, I guess. We're taking a little bit of a bid back towards VWAP. So interesting stuff. 20,100 should be interesting. But yeah, a bigger picture, as I was saying before, we kind of failed to follow through that 21,000, and then I think we got up into the high 900s, and then we pulled back in quite aggressively as well there on the future. So interesting look there. Intel catching a little bit of a bid back towards those mid, I guess 3620s there as well. So
of course
again, kind of held this one a little bit too long there, but we're still in and around that VWAP level. See how this one potentially comes in there. Is that as we did make quite an aggressive sell off of that 37. I'm looking for lower highs, but this pre-market consolidation high right there at that 3610, we did break back above it. So I do have to, I guess, be a little bit more patient for this one to potentially come in here. A little bit of a fumble on my part, but again, what's the next trade? I'm still looking, I'm still watching. I know there's a lot of earnings names as well that are on watch. ASML, J&J, USB. Let us know in the chat if you guys have been trading those at all, and if any other tickers have brought you.
Have you seen J&J?
No, I haven't. What's going on with?
Sheesh. I mean, we gotta have a better one than that. It's an up arrow. It literally does the job. But J&J, straight shot to the upside. Buy strong, go long strong stocks, obviously. See, when I say buy and sell, I usually think long term. Go long strong stocks. So J&J is trending up. Didn't love it on earnings because there was no volume into it. Is what it is. You guys can see what's happening there. I did just take Rivian because, as I was saying, it's okay to be wrong. It's not okay to stay wrong. That's one of my favorite lines. Just wait for the trade to set back up, and if you like it, you can always try again. So that's the 18 level. This time it's VWAP in the other direction after a rejection of yesterday's high. If it holds underneath 18, basically give it the same room that we did before, and then look to make this trade. When you look at the higher time frame here on Rivian, yeah, trending up, but there's been two good levels, right? Like the 18 even was pretty good yesterday off of the open, and then kind of a break off spot to go to the upside late in the day, and then on the way down, it was a stop to go lower, so it's been a good level. And then you had this 1830, 1840, where it's been a bit of a fade. The other thing, remember BAC when we were trying to get those teens? Yeah, well, that didn't happen. It just broke yesterday's highs. So about 44.15, and we're not getting 44.15 when it's breaking out yesterday's top. BAC is now on the path to blue skies. It is a blue sky setup on BAC. It's through fresh tops, as you can see, day 2 play on earnings. That's what we like to see. It's continuing to go. And now you're getting this, I mean, yeah, just like Tesla maybe got out early on Intel, but this is where I tried the long before that failed. So this wouldn't be an automatic entry off of VWAP on Intel. This is exactly where it kind of dumped into 35.50 for me, and that's the level we like a bit better. If it holds 36, look for a continuation long, but you could argue if it rejects here, you could be setting up a couple of lower highs into a trend back to this 35.5. So patience is a virtue that we need to have.
Yeah, I do think that 35.5 is a pretty interesting area. We did catch a little bit of a bid off of it. Not a little bit. We did like almost a point worth of a bid on Intel. Now, again, I guess what I want to be asking is the ATR. So let's go quickly and check what the ATR on Intel is, so we can get a little bit of a measure. So 1.11 is the ATR. So we did almost an ATR worth of a bounce. A couple of ATRs to the downside as well. But I'll keep this one on watch. Let's see what we do with that 36. 35.5 is also interesting. What's going on, Adara?
Just be aware of this Medtronic here, MDT. This one, pretty much green candles all morning. We just got a volume spike in here, up almost 4%. Not seeing any news on this one. Very minimal social media interaction with this one as well, but worth noting, this is not a small cap. We have a market cap of around $100 billion. So just be aware of this MDT. Still keeping my eye out here, especially with that volume spike, guys.
I know that name, but it's not one we traded in a heck of a long time, Medtronic. NVIDIA's starting to set back up. You could see a bounce here into VWAP. If NVIDIA breaks 119.5, that's a pretty good V-shaped bottom. A bounce into VWAP kind of would be next. Look over at AMD, which is not making as big of a bounce. Remember we said AMD is clearly weaker than NVIDIA. Could AMD really have a 10% day down, or down day, I should say, all the way around? If it does, I think looking for something at the 165. If NVIDIA breaks out and goes to VWAP and AMD stands down here, then I think we short AMD. But like I said, we got to be patient, move from station to station. There's another test of 18 happening on Rivian, just wicked VWAP. If this fails under again, I think that's an opportunity to add on the way down and scalp it into this 75. So it looks like that's what's happening here on RIVN. Just want to see it hold underneath 95 and get some sellers down under. And it looks like it was right about Intel. It does not hold on to VWAP, does not hold on to 36. So 35.5, still the level for me on Intel. If we get back down there, we'll go for it. So NVIDIA is making that big breakout. If it does and AMD doesn't go with it, I'll look for a fade on the weaker one.
Yeah, a little bit of interesting action there. We did pop up into 36 and some change, coming right back into that 36 mark on Intel. Again, I am pretty much mainly focused on this ticker as of right now. But that 36 does seem quite interesting. We talk about that pre-market consolidation level as well. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you, Neil. That 35.5 definitely interesting. Again, building kind of the story that's been happening on the book and the tape. On the way down, a lot of size. Where was it? Where was it transacted? Do we see it again? A lot of participants. Where did they kind of transact before? The chart, the candlestick is like is a visual representation of the past, right? So that 35 70s to 36 ish area, a little bit of an interesting level as well. We're catching a little bit of a bid here off of 36 once again. But yeah, no, you're right. Let's look for lower highs if that's going to be the case. VWAP as of right now, we're just doing a bit of an orbit around VWAP as well. 20,100, bit of a bounce on the NQs. I'm also keeping an eye here on SMH. So again, trading a ticker like Intel, got to keep an eye on SMH, and you can see that SMH has been pretty much trending down off of the open. We did catch a little bit of a bounce here that happened right at, what time is this? At 10:15. And does that have any sort of confluence with anything on Intel? Not really as of right now, but trading below VWAP and a strong downtrend is SMH as of right now. So Intel's still within its opening range, right? The opening price was 36.08. As of right now, we attempted to break back above opening price. Now we're just trading in and around VWAP plus opening price area. So definitely a lot of interest in and around some of these levels here at that 36 mark. Not really seeing anything too significant in terms of tape action here, but I'll be patient to see if anything or anyone shows up here on Intel. But yeah, no, let us know in the chat. What are you guys trading? I didn't really see too many tickers that you guys mentioned.
Global Foundries.
Tesla. What's going on with GFS?
Well, remember, Global Foundries is strong for the same reason that Intel is. And the only reason it wasn't a 56 breakout for me was Global Foundries is incredibly illiquid relative to most of the stuff that we would normally trade. And the volume did come in right at 9:30, but this break is a 3-minute chart. That's the break of the high at 9:30, 57.5. So the 56 break happened pre-market, and the volume came in there. It's instantly at $60 on that wick, and then just continuing higher. So I'd be a little bit cautious with Intel. This is a sympathy play to bad news for Taiwan and blah 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 chips, and made at home is a GFS, Global Foundries, and Intel play. It's already 10:20. What's going on in small cap land, Adara?
You proving to be very fascinating here. We pop up. Now we're coming to find a little bit of rejection here at that 224.40, this previous area of support, and also VWAP. So this could be an interesting area for the Russell 2000. Worth noting as well, nice bounce and nice support off that 222.10 area. It's also a bit of an area of support yesterday as well, so keep an eye on 222.10 for the IWM. Quite a few small cap names moving as well. It's also worth noting we just got some of those cannabis names moving to the upside, so ACB, CRON, CGC on watch here as well, but also we have LCFY. This one currently up about 25%. LocalFi, no news on this one. This is an Australian small cap that also ran a little bit last week and earlier this week. They do have a float of around 989,000 shares, so small float for LCFY. Next up here is Shimmick. SHIM, this one continuing to pop higher here, getting a $27.6 million subcontract for this ozonization project. So good look here for SHIM with contract news. And last but not least, this one worth noting here as well, Cassava Sciences, not up in the day, actually down about 30%, but worth keeping an eye on this one here. It does have a market cap of around 649 million shares, and it has a short float of around 27.3%, so certainly worth keeping an eye on. Announcing some leadership today, changes today, including its CEO and a member of its board setting down here. So Remy Barbier stepping down. SAVA selling off a bit here, guys.
It's not the only thing selling off today. Look, we got the reload or whatever with the add into Rivian and the scalp down into 1780 or so. So that's the VWAP failure. However, while that was going to the downside, this happened on Tesla. I pointed, as if you guys can see me pointing at the chart, 250 on Tesla. So you got to ask yourself, if Tesla is so weak, what's going to happen next? This is exactly where it put in the higher low yesterday at the 250 level. So be cautious with this. It's probably going to want to bounce here, as you can clearly see is happening. But this is flushing like no other. NVIDIA still hasn't made the breakout of 119.5. So just kind of sticking with the same names in here. It did this little bit of a wick and then fail back under, putting in a higher low. If this gets to VWAP and I see the same level of weakness that we did before on AMD, which is still in effect, like AMD is very, very weak as NVIDIA bounces. That gets to VWAP. I think AMD is going to be the fade play. That or potentially ARM, which is also hanging down around those lows. So I got the eyeballs at NVIDIA, oddly enough, to look for a play in one of the other two names, which would be, as I said, it's going to be ARM or AMD, just what I happen to be looking at this moment. And there are some small caps moving, as we talked about like plenty of times before, but been really focused on these chip names, trying to get those ins and outs. Out too early on something, but hey, a win's a win. Let's go over to Adara one more time.
Just mentioned some of the strength in some of these cannabis-related names during the small cap recap. Now seeing a potential reason for this. Apparently, this was a while ago here. This is just MSOS up here. Around 59 minutes ago, we had President Biden tweeting out, quote, "I'm making sure no one goes to jail for mere use or possession of marijuana, and their records should be expunged. It's time we right these historic wrongs." This came out an hour ago, but I'm seeing this as a potential reason that we had a bit of a spike here in these cannabis-related names. So just keep an eye on that. President Biden tweeting about righting historic wrongs with regards to cannabis. Some of these names moving up, guys.
Yes, sir. And coming right back to that 35.5s Intel, I know that's good for you, Obi. This is the level that if it doesn't hold 35.5, things get really dicey for Intel on this breakout. This is why 35.5. I mean, earnings top for the last week and a half, resistance. If you do not hold this level, you've got a very, very wide gap. It's one of two places I was long. If it bounces, we take a third one for sure here on Intel. Still, like AMD, NVDA, still absolutely nothing happening on that bounce. It's just not going anywhere. So we might have to short this one off 119.50 instead of waiting to short something else if it pops into VWAP. We had NVIDIA before. We might have to go back over to this well. 35.5's coming into play. That's where I'm looking to bid Intel, and it's getting close. Oh boy, he says.
Oh boy, indeed. Yeah, a little bit of a sweaty hold on my part here.
Oh shoot!
But yeah, no, it's coming in. Let's see that aggressive selling back below that VWAP there. But I guess price is kind of compressing as of right now, so I do have an eye on that. VWAP sitting at 36.03s. We came down into the 70s. And caught a little bit of a bid. But again, Neil is right. I'm looking for that 35.5s if that can come in. If not, that's perfectly fine as well. Getting a little bit of a sandwich kind of action there between that 35.5 and VWAP area as well. NQ still holding that 20,100 as of right now. Was it Jet Voy in the chat saying, we will see Intel end of day 37 plus. Hey, man. I'm all for it. I'm more than willing to kind of flip the script on this ticker here if it actually kind of catches a bit of a bid here, which I guess it's attempting to do at a higher low. So we've made a lower high and we've made a higher low. So like I said, price compression happening here on Intel. So interesting stuff nonetheless. But trading below VWAP as of right now. 36 coming right back in, Neil. So let's see. Maybe we don't even get back down to 36.5. Who knows? But it seems like the longs from overnight and in the pre-market session are definitely sitting a little bit pretty here as we chop around some of this consolidation from before. Again, keeping an eye on that SMH. We're trading a little bit sideways here on SMH, a little bit muted, and the future is just in the same kind of area there as well. I know that NVIDIA is still holding that 119. Can't really get back up to that 120 as of right now. But we were talking about sellers stepping down, Neil, on Amazon, and oh boy, Amazon is trading below 190s. It's trading at 186. That short is on. I don't know if Bezos has stepped down with his sell, but it is definitely being sold off very aggressively.
It's not a bad assumption at this point.
We were talking about it being a little muted.
Yeah, well, it was. It's not muted now.
It is not. It is absolutely not muted.
Well, the buying is muted on it.
Well, yeah, I guess.
That's about it.
The relative strength was a little.
Yeah, 186. Yikes. Yeah, not going to catch that falling knife. I mean, if it was, hey, man, but get on the bid if it's trending up and dipping. But when you're falling like this, it's nasty. Okay. So I was in a long in NVIDIA for like 2 seconds, and it was a keystroke error. Like I was going to put in a stop order to short if it got up here. And instead of doing that, I accidentally punched long. It happened to bounce in that moment. So when I offered out, I ended up getting a win trade. But that's an accident. If I hold on to it, it's a bigger win. I understand that. But you don't do that. That's stupid. So here's 119.5. It just keeps on coming into this level. And I want to try to respect it. I want to get back into Intel. And I keep looking over at it. Ooh, BAC might lose VWAP in here. All right. Simultaneously, while we have NVIDIA, which is kind of the focus this morning, back into 119.5. If this fails 119.5, we're going to have to jump into the short. I know I'm not long the stock. It was an accidental buy in there, but we just lost VWAP on BAC. If I'm going to lose today, lose trying to buy on a dip in a strong stock. If it doesn't hold on to 44, there might be nothing left for this name. But the market's starting to rally, and the strong names early can come back when the weak ones start to go up. There's a bit of this inverse where the banks and the financials are going to have this pullback while the chips and all the death stocks are looking a little bit strong, at least temporarily speaking in here. So here comes NVIDIA at 119.5 again. And it is 10:30. My goodness. Let's get that crypto update from Adara. Time flies.
Bit of an oil update here as well. Quickly, we did just get in some of these inventories from the EIA. So EIA crude oil inventories dropping by 4.87 million barrels, so larger than expected drop. EIA gasoline inventory is actually coming in higher than expected here, so 3.328 million versus the expected drop of 1.23 million. So interesting note there for some of these inventories numbers if you're looking at the oil or energy spaces. In terms of Bitcoin and crypto-related news, we do continue to have speculation here for Ethereum ETFs and what this might do to the market. We have actually this one crypto asset manager, Bitwise, saying that when we do have these inflows from the Ethereum ETF, could actually push Ethereum past that 5,000 area to new all-time highs, citing what we saw with Bitcoin, which was that 110% run-up from when the market began pricing in ETFs in October, and then a 25% increase from when they were approved. So interesting note here, if you are following those Ethereum ETFs, continued speculation on when those may begin trading and what it might do for Ethereum itself. Bitcoin, after a nice run up here, trying to curl off support at that 55,000 area on the daily chart. Currently having a bit of a doji candle here, just currently right below that 65,000 level for BTC. We have Ethereum here holding on to that 34 pretty nicely. BNB up about 1.3%. Generally upside here for a lot of these crypto names, some stronger than others. Ripple up 6.5%, Solana up 3%, Cardano up 3.25%. So pretty strong look for a lot of these other crypto names. Though BTC and ETH are still holding their own, guys.
Thank you.
They're doing their best. I actually see Mara making a decent hold of the low at 25.70, higher low 26. I said the even dollars look good, but it was actually 25 that we're waiting for. Like I wanted a deeper dip. When the market was that weak, I thought maybe deeper dip before we were buying it. 25, 24. You're not getting any of that. Where are you going, Rivian? Nowhere. Right back into VWAP. You're holding the lower high on VWAP, still looking for that press down. This could be a reversal if it can hold 18. You got to remember, like, yeah, we got the stair step at the level we want. It's kind of rejecting these highs in here and then putting in lower highs, and you could get a pullback into 17. But it's still an upward trending stock overall. And if the market decides it wants to pull a reversal, you know, an 18 play could go right back into 1840. So if we're taking 10 to 15 cents for outs and then holding for more, you don't want to lose more than that. And a reversal can certainly be into play. All right, here comes Intel at 36 again.
Yeah, 36.
Either it holds VWAP this time or it doesn't. We don't get 35.5, which is what we wanted, but it puts in a higher low off of that bounce. This could be our opportunity to get in above VWAP. And for those tuning in, Sabrina Zhang just said, why is the market down? The question being why? Well, overnight, you had some comments regarding possible curbs to exports to China with regards to chips. That weighs in on ASML and the entire chip space. So it's negative China sentiment. It's geopolitical risk. TSM had warnings as well. That brought all the chip names into the downside. The overall market got dragged with it because anything with China-related risk is going to be down, and a lot of the tech names following along with that. Oddly enough, this was really bad for Nike. Nike, I promise you this, we'll never know, but I think Nike was going to bounce today. Adidas had a good report. They were up 4%. And if not for that China news, I think it could have been the day for Nike. But we're not watching that stock. I got my eyeballs on Intel. 42 million shares the stock is done today. And we're going to get another trade on this stock. 1 for 2 on it, but I should have maybe reloaded that higher low. I thought we'd get 35.5.
Yeah, that higher low is definitely interesting. Lower high as well, right? So it's like I said, price compression kind of this way, I guess. Price compression happening in and around an interesting level 36, right? So just to kind of being a little patient here for that price compression to kind of potentially pick one direction or the other. But again, it seems like those lower highs off of that prior level could definitely be a little concerning for the shorts. And then that failure to follow through as well off of that 37 and then 3620s-ish that are potentially coming right back in here right now. 36s, SMH pulling back as well. SMH pulling back up into VWAP is definitely kind of not helping my case. But again, VWAP could be something we can expect. Look for sellers once again, right? Opening range low as well, potentially there on SMH as it rips up into that VWAP level there. So let's see if sellers kind of catch on SMH, and let's see if that brings in a potential lower high here on Intel as well. But yeah, time is definitely flying there. It is 10:35. It's been about an hour in terms of how much trading we've been doing since the opening session. Bit of a reserve happening there at 36.10 is interesting. So yeah, VWAP, it's struggling to kind of get past VWAP in a distinct way, but it's struggling to kind of break down as well. So like I said, a little muted action as SMH takes a little bit of a pullback off of VWAP. VWAP on SMH I have at 261.63. We're trading at 261.20s right now on SMH. But yeah, that 20,100 potentially bouncing and coming in here on the NASDAQ as well. Let's see what our friend Amazon is up to. Amazon a little green. NVIDIA catching a little bit of a bounce. A little green candle right now on the first green 15-minute candle.
Man, if Amazon goes green today, I'm eating a pineapple. No, wait a minute. No, don't say stupid thing. Every time I see some nonsense like that, I stop myself. No, I stop myself. And the last time I did it, I said something ridiculously unlikely, and then it happened, and then I had to, I don't like pineapple pizza. That's the gist of it. But remember what I said. So I'm going to look for NVIDIA, which is breaking higher, and if it can't sustain into VWAP, short the thing that is weaker. Well, guess what was weaker? Right here, lower high, resistance hold. So if resistance breaks on NVIDIA and tries to go up, resistance holds 165 on AMD and goes down. The other thing, which we just played back into the half, that the first 50 cents of the move, we scalped that out, and the low of the day I'm going to respect. If we get back into the low, it's a scalp trade. Going to just jump on the bid there. It possibly could have also worked in ARM, but I chose AMD in that moment. So we kind of waited for this to happen. We got it. Rivian still rejecting VWAP. Maybe we'll get some more out in the 8. They just take more out like that 81, 75 level. Look at the range. I'm going to scout more out just in case we get a chance to improve price and actually get some fills. I have one fill. I got in like one time here at 93, already scalped that out, reloaded it at 89, and I should be reloading at 95. So let's try to do this a little bit better, scout more into the 80s, and actually get this off of VWAP a little tighter to that resistance level. So AMD, that was a new trade. If NVIDIA goes down, fair enough, but AMD's weaker. AMD's about to press the low down 7.5% when NVIDIA is still making higher lows. So look for that curl in NVIDIA. Short AMD, NVIDIA pulls back 30 cents, AMD pulls back $1. That's why you want to go to the weaker name. It's fine, I'm looking at NVIDIA for guidance, but make a trade over on Advanced Micro Devices. And Intel, hold VWAP, you silly thing. Do something. It's broken out the top of the wedge. This is where, like if it's breaking this wedge, if you're strong, you should be holding VWAP and flying. If you're weak, then you should be rejecting VWAP and coming right back into here. Intel's doing literally neither one of those two things.
Yeah, a bit of a sideways chop there. Seems like AMD's the one, Neil, I should be kind of sitting in.
Tesla's moving.
Tesla, what's Tesla up to?
Tesla's wild price action. Like Tesla, obviously we gotta.
It gave that up, eh? Wow.
Yeah, a little bit.
Full on V-shape. We talked about V-shape yesterday. We got a V-shape off the open today.
There's a scene in Ghostbusters 2 where like Winston, do you know Ghostbusters?
Yeah, I've seen the first one. I don't think I've seen the second one. I've seen one of the later ones.
I'll spoil something. So basically he sits there and he's on an old train track and a ghost train flies by. And he's like, his head is going through the damn train as he sees the ghosts that are all dead that died in the train crash. And then after, when he's seen all of that, I think it was Ray turns to him and said, "Hey, did you get the number on that train?" He's like, "Nope, I missed it." That was Tesla at 258 the second time today. You know, I feel just like that. Like that exact moment is what I feel like. Because I even said, I'm not reloading this trade. It's a strong stock. And that was a mistake. Tesla, I'll be up on it. It was a great trade into VWAP. You're not mad that you take a $2 trade. You're not mad that you take a $2 trade, but I am mad that I pivoted from that to now scalping Rivian for 15 cents at a time when you could be having a $10 move in Tesla. But it is 10:40, so let's see Sector Watch with Adara.
NASDAQ certainly underperforming when compared to the SPY. You could definitely see that reflected on the sector board. Lots of weakness across these Mag 7 names, especially here in electronic technology. All these semiconductors red on those reports that looking for increased restrictions to stop companies from sending these chips to China. We also have some weakness as well in the consumer services area. Keep an eye, technology services area. Keep an eye, especially on Meta here. Sharply down. We did have Donald Trump saying he's, quote, for TikTok, so Meta and Snapchat a bit weaker here. Lots of weakness as well in producer manufacturing, retail trade, Amazon bringing this group to the downside, consumer durables, consumer service a little bit mixed here as well. Health technologies to get to things that are a little bit more mixed to positive. Not bad here, though. Eli Lilly to the downside after Roche's weight loss drug showed some efficacy there. Finance also a bit more mixed as we continue direct to bank earnings, but lots of strength here in these markets as well, despite the downside. Consumer non-durable, strong across the board. Energy minerals, green across the board. Utilities, health services, process industries, communications, pretty green as well. So it's not all downside, though those tech names certainly weak, guys.
Oh, you can say that again.
Tech names weak for sure there.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Someone keeps blowing up my phone. I don't know who it is, but no, I'm not going to.
Don't answer your
random.
What's the area code?
I don't know, 437. I keep getting like a 188. Is that Toronto? All right. Well, here's the thing. If you're not saving my contacts and I don't know the number, I'm probably not going to be
screen that
up there.
You got
send me a text. Send me a text. Leave me a voicemail. Unless it's Powell, I got him. He's on speed dial. You know, reversion man. Got to have him on lock. There as Mr. 36 comes back in. I'm looking for that reversion.
Yeah, you're answering the phone if Jay Powell calls.
Oh.
Right, quick.
Definitely. I'm answering that phone. I'm being like, hey, what's going on with these rate cuts, hikes? Apparently.
Stop flushing the market, Jerome.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, reversion man, I like you. You've done well. I like it.
So just go back to the trade. You see I'm out of AMD. AMD just tagged the bottom. Now I have a line on the chart at 163 bucks, which will explain this. So we short under 165. The bounce is about 163.5 currently, but there's a lot at this level for me why I'm getting out of the AMD short. If you use technicals to get in, I'm going to use technicals to get out. That big channel break on AMD, this is the bottom of that trend. So the previous breakout channel, that resistance, this is it at 163 bucks. The 50-period moving average on the daily is at that same level. On top of that, this is the last, look at this big rally and round trip. That had support at 163, and then it consolidated for an entire day at 163 after closing up here, and then broke out. So it's a long-winded way of saying, even if it catches a bounce here, I don't have to go long off 163, but if that's a level, I'm certainly covering a short into that 163. That's the minimum you can do. You don't have to reverse a trade, but it's telling me this would be the spot to get out of the short and look for the next opportunity. So just wanted to make sure I went over that. You're like, well, why would you get out of a stock that's trending to the downside? Oh, the other thing that's happening, NVIDIA right back into 120.
Yeah.
So remember I got into the AMD short when I saw this move stall. Well, I got out of AMD for all of those reasons, and now NVIDIA is all the way up at VWAP. So just to give you an explanation as to the reason for that decision, sitting on the bid at 1775 on Rivian, it bounces exactly at 1775 without actually giving a fill. So this time I won't sit at the obvious level. I will just move it a couple of cents higher, and maybe we'll get that opportunity. Tesla almost at VWAP. I think it was the right time to get out of that short on AMD. Maybe look for something which can give me that reversal play.
Yeah, that reversal definitely coming in quite hot. I'm pulling up this NVIDIA. Look at that. Nice little push right back through that 120 where, again, Neil pointed out some significant size sitting there as well. Let's take a quick look at some of these tickers here. We'll run through, I guess, again, we're looking at SMH coming back in. Let's throw a VWAP on as well to take a quick look at the tech sector here. So SMH attempting to push this VWAP right there, opening range lows incoming as well. NVIDIA pulling back up in towards its VWAP as well. So a nice little reversion happening there on NVIDIA. Intel we're already watching there. A little bit sideways action, kind of compressing in and around that VWAP with a bit of an orbit there. AMD to the downside, not really as I guess, as much of a reversion as some of these other ones there. I know I'm forgetting this TSM, of course. So TSM with the most reversion coming right back in all the way nearing opening range highs there. But pre-market, look at that sell-off in the pre-market, man. That is aggressive. We have yet to kind of recover to some of those levels, but opening range levels 176, definitely interesting that we make it all the way back, all the way up on
Nothing can stop
TSM.
all the way
Nothing
up.
can definitely stop that one right there on TSM. And another name that we might not look at as often, ARM, right? So let's see what ARM is up to. ARM did a bit of a quadunk in the pre-market, breaking below that 170 level, 173s in prior day's lows right there, making fresh lows, so almost a 10-point flush down to 163s, 164s here on ARM itself. So a nice little look there at some of these tech names. So very disconnected, right? Some of them up, some of them down. We talk about potential interest between TSM versus Intel versus some of these other names as well. 20,100 still holding as of right now. SOX S, I was looking for a potential long there. It does come in off of the open there, holds VWAP and pushes about, I guess, 50, 60 pennies there on SOX S, which is, again, pretty decent range for what this ticker does. Comes right back in, holding VWAP right now below that 21 as of right now. So reverted the move, very similar to that, looking kind of similar to that of TSM here. And again, some of the larger holdings in this ticker, I think, again, AVGO is up there, NVDA is up there as well. You know, NVIDIA is catching a bit of a bounce there as well. So
that's
success. I'll definitely be watching.
That's just not fair.
What is not fair, Neil?
It's not fair.
Life is not
AMD. This is a very, very real wick. So the last time it came to 165, it kind of tagged it. It broke 90s and got to exactly even, then hung around long enough, not going to draw a line, that you could get the lower high. This time, it bounced up to 165 and immediately retraced to 164. There was no chance to get it, so cancel that order. And obviously, NVIDIA got to VWAP at that same moment. I think you were showing that chart. NVIDIA got to VWAP. I tried the curl on AMD, but you know, once again, you kind of miss it there. We got it the first time. We'll see if we can't get a second or third opportunity to short that pop. Let me just quickly go over to ARM. I prepared for this. I actually paid for locates on ARM today, so I can short ARM. Usually we have to pay about 1/8 of 1 cent here at Real Trading. There was a question in the chat, what platform we're using. We're using the P-Pro 8 platform here, which is exclusive and proprietary to Real Trading, which is the largest day trading company pretty much in the world. And it's a fantastic, built for traders by traders. We put a suggestion in. You know, sometimes they don't listen because, you know, it's a low priority. But if enough traders want something in the platform, then it ends up happening. And that's what it's all about. So we love it. We get locates to be able to short things that might be hard to borrow during the day. So ARM, 1/8 of 1 cent per share for a $160 stock is a pretty good value. Obviously, if you were shorting it and holding overnight, that would be a different cost. But that's failing underneath VWAP. I don't know if we get a retest. Might have to go right back over to AMD. AMD is so weak right now. Down 8%. We didn't get to it late, but that's fine. Like, the way I see it is early on, we shorted Tesla at the highs. We had NVIDIA up here, but when we got out of NVIDIA, I pivoted to AMD because it was weaker. NVIDIA could be putting in higher lows. Accidental long. How hilarious is that? I actually got the higher low accidentally on NVIDIA and took out for 15 cents because I wasn't looking to go long. But keystroke errors, you should cover right away. Like, if I hold this, hey, look at me, I accidentally went long. Let's hold it into VWAP just because. Well, that's silly because the next time you do it, what if it's the wrong direction and you lose? Just jump out of the trade. So I jumped out of it. That's why you'll see me there. That's not any kind of hooray for me. Market's still working down. We're just short Rivian, and we're going to Adara for money talks.
That's just sweaty hold, man.
DXY making its third consecutive red candle here on the daily chart, breaking below that key 104.10 area, which was an area of resistance and support for the DXY. Started forming here back in fall 2023, so pretty key area. Definitely worth watching out here for the DXY. We do have some data coming in earlier today. USA manufacturing month over month and industrial production month over month data, both coming in higher than the estimate, but lower than the May print. So for June, manufacturing production month over month change positive 0.4% versus positive 0.2% expected, but 1% was the prior number. Industrial production month over month for June, 0.6% versus the estimate of 0.3%, but below the prior number of 0.9%. We also had housing starts and building permits data on the month over month basis, both higher than expected here. We had 3% here for June for the housing starts compared to the negative 4.6% for May. We also had building permits month over month for June rising here by 3.4%. So interesting look here. We had two Fed speakers earlier today, none on the docket for later today. But we did have Feds Barkin and Waller both speaking about the labor market. Feds Barkin saying the labor market is, quote, tight, but not crazy tight. Well, Feds Waller said the labor market is in a sweet spot and that the Fed needs to maintain current labor market conditions. So labor market continuing to be of emphasis here for Fed speakers. We're going to be getting some Philly Fed business index data coming in tomorrow, but the rest of the week a little bit lighter for economic data with the exception of some Fed speakers coming throughout the days, guys.
1/4 of what I had. But.
Yeah, and one of the things we try to do here is that Obi and I were just going over like Intel and sort of how like that can really work off that. Wow, now it's breaking trend right back into 35.5. Like this is at 35.5 level. Let me just get rid of these trend lines. They're just confusing. Maybe I'll finish that thought for the lesson of the day. But here's a 35.5. If Intel cannot hang on to this, the gap fill will be explosive. Why 35.5? If you're just tuning in now, this is why. Breakout off of this level. Now you're getting the retracement back into it. It was a triple top of sorts. But if Intel can't hold on to this particular level, there goes a break. Breaking by a cent or two, which is exactly what just happened, isn't that big of a deal.
No.
If buyers show up in front of it, I might take something at like 52, 53 with a 5 or 6 cent stop. You can't get it. Never mind. As I was saying that, might take something with a 52 or 53 with a 5 cent stop. Could not get the fill, already back up to 60. If I can get picked up, the risk to reward would be if it bounces off 35.50 again like it did, you could see VWAP, which is 50 cents. If it loses, you could risk 5 or 6 cents. I think that can be worth it on a stock that's up today. But I don't want to compromise. If you take it too far away from that level, I don't want to risk 15 to 20 cents for that same move. It's got to be tight, though. It's trending into the downside now. And if that gets lost, it can get really, really nasty. So it did just pick me up at 53. So if it breaks that low now, it would be about a 7 cent hit. So if it gets above 60 again, we'll scalp out on the way to $36. So that's the play here on Intel, as the market is dying, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's coming in.
AMD is breaking 163. We never got that reload. I do have a short that's just still Rivian. That could be breaking channel down. We've just been shorting off of VWAP. But getting a chip name short, we didn't get that reload on AMD. NVIDIA's not at a price that I like either. Intel just happens to be relatively strong on the higher time frame, but we do want something else short that isn't just Rivian. With only 5 minutes to go here, Obi.
Yes, sir. That 35.5, we did break it by a few pennies, rips right back in. So low a day break, bit of a I guess I wouldn't really call it a failure to follow through just yet, as we're just still trading in that range there. But I am kind of piecing off a good chunk of my position here, just because it dropped down quite aggressively, and it's holding as of right now, right below that day low as of right now. So let me just show you guys what I'm talking about here.
Show them.
Right here. So we come in. We rip down. That's where we've caught a bid before us, and it's prior kind of levels on the chart as well. So I do want to piece off a little bit there, maybe some more here, as it comes in to a prior resistance level, potentially turn support. But again, that flush was quite aggressive, right? And again, we talk about using other indicators and other tools as a bit of confluence. And take a look at this, Van Eck. Great, though. We talk about that VWAP. I was like, is VWAP going to stay heavy? VWAP comes in, tests 262s, drops down 262 halves almost, and then drops down 2 points to the lower end of this this kind of uptrend that we're kind of getting on the potential reversion there. Higher lows, higher highs as well off of this flush that we had, but VWAP holding as a bit of a selling with some selling pressure, it would seem, just based off of what we're seeing here on the chart. So let's see what Intel does with its day low here. We're only trading about 20, I guess 10, 20 pennies off of that. We would get into, I think, what's the low print there? Do we get down to 40s there?
40s. Earlier.
46. I got 46 as the low there. So didn't quite get me in the 40s, and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to start piecing off. I don't really want to be too I guess, stingy with it. But again, this is what Neil and I were talking about here. I sell all the way down. Like, I like it. I like the way the tape is looking. I like the way we failed that 37. I like that we have a bunch of these players offside. I like that we have the opening drive players offside as well with this kind of action coming in. And then now VWAP selling has, again, we talk about this pre-market consolidation potentially being offside. Day low, if we break day low, that's a decent chunk of participants offside as well. And we're testing in and around that area, confluenced with a market flush back down into 20,100. So I like that look as well. But again, I don't want to stick around for too long. I'm just slowly, now I think I'm just going to be time covering a lot of this move here, and maybe getting more in if we make lower highs as well. So seems to have worked out not too bad as of right now. But you know what? It's kind of taking a little bit here. So I will do that, and I will kind of come back to it maybe a little bit higher here, as now we just have this entry left over. See, this is the thing. We're talking about this. I got aggressive on the way down. How can I do better with kind of having a lot more of my inventory in and around this level where I'm like, all right, I get short, get stopped out, and that's fine. But if I was really big here and I get stopped out, I'm spending a good chunk of my daily shutdown risk on that, right?
You know what I found?
What's up?
If I'm ever taking a short against the grain in a reversion trade,
yeah.
If I know, and usually you know this, you really like the level, if it wicks you out, you're jumping right back in.
Oh, yeah.
The answer to the question is, if whatever I'm willing to take on the first time, if it wicks me out, I have to take the same size or more the second time
maybe
through.
Even more.
Yeah, or more.
Yeah, more EV.
And if I'm not willing to do that, then I should be sizing down on the initial entry. It's that simple.
Fair.
Because if I don't like it that much, that I wouldn't just jump right back in, or I can't jump in for that much, that means I'm taking too much on that first trade. And I'm talking specifically about something that has gone against you, or not gone against you, something that's against the grain, like Tesla. Like in that situation, if I get wicked out of that 258, then I know, like if it does this to me, and let's say this trade is over here, if I get that loss, then I'm coming right back in. It has to be the same. If I'm not willing to take the same size or more, then that trade has to be for less the first time. And that would just be my approach to it. But everyone has to kind of do their own thing.
Yeah. I'm trying to find a balance, right? That's what I'm trying to find. A balance.
That's all it is.
My style versus
balance in the
what I'm
force.
trying to do. Exactly. Got to be balanced. A little bit of good, a little bit of bad. Hopefully a lot of good. But
although that doesn't work with the Jedi, because the Jedi are supposed to be all good.
Yeah.
And the Sith are kind of all bad.
Yeah. But maybe we're just trying to be a new breed where we're a little bit of a hybrid, you know? Hybrid between good and evil.
No, that's what they're trying to do with the Acolyte, and failing miserably.
Okay, I see. I haven't seen.
No, we went halfway through it. I haven't even watched it in a few weeks. Okay. I will finish it because look, I believe in the sunk cost theory. If I start watching a show and it stinks, I just stop watching it. The only place that doesn't exist is when it's Star Wars. I just continue watching. But you know what? If you like what you see here, Intel working short, Intel working long, the market working to the downside, AMD looking pretty good. If you like the show, hit that like and subscribe, because hey, we try to be good every single day. And if we lose as traders, we try to be better. We try to learn and do better for the viewers every single day for free. So with that, in lieu of flowing to him in 5 seconds,
like, subscribe, share the show that takes you into the heart of the market.
Oh, that was a little laggy.
that one never works the way I want it to.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's a
professor.
little laggy. Yeah, thank you.
It's a little bit laggy, that one, but it is apparently already 11 o'clock, I guess.
Time
so
flies.
time flies when you're finishing each other's sentences. I love that. Like Intel is in the money for both of us at the current moment. I promise you that won't be the same in about 20 minutes. Either it's going to VWAP or it's going to lose this bid. But we got to head on over to the midday. It's the professor. Now you want to fade us out?
They're fading us out. Come on.
Well, now we're just going to hold here for another couple seconds here.
I'm not leaving.
Yeah, you know what? Just because you did that, now we're just going to hang around. Did we see what was for lunch? I don't have the lunch. I was going to say what was for lunch today, but I didn't get the lunch menu for today, so we can't actually do that. So I'm just going to keep like rambling for a couple of seconds here because I can't do what's for lunch because I don't know what it is. I can speculate what it might be. What did you guys have yesterday?
The chicken was pretty good. I don't know if it was breast of chicken, as mentioned before, but it was thigh of chicken, Adara says. Yeah, so it was thigh of chicken.
Thigh of chicken.
But nice, tender. It was good.
We like
chicken
that tender. Obi likes the thick ask, and he also likes the tender chicken as well, tender thigh. Now we'll throw it over the midday. It's Sharif, it's Adara, it's Learn to Trade. Enjoy, everybody.
We'll see you guys.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade, formerly known as that